Hey guys! Alright, so it is time to learn how to teach Reiki. This class is going to be designed to teach you how to be a teacher, how to be a spiritual teacher. What are some of the basics to working with groups? We're going to be going over the Reiki Master's symbol. And I'm also going to teach you that this class can be used for all of the different lineages on how to teach. We're just going to go over some key points. But mainly the book that I use for how to teach, you will get after you sign up for your attunement with me, and that is separate. Okay, so this is the classroom portion, the actual attunement to the Ko Myo symbol to be able to use it to give Reiki attunements is a separate appointment that you'll make. And so there's additional fees for the attunement that will come with the booklet, and it will come with your certificate. And then there's a smaller fee to watch the training program. And I do it this way because I've been teaching Reiki for I don't know, over 10 years, since 2010, and it's getting so widely popular that people are wanting to learn Reiki as more of an appointment, or they're wanting to do it at their own pace. So this way you'll still be able to actually receive your Reiki attunement with some personal attention from me, and we'll be able to have some time together to do some some Q&A, and it's good for you to do that after you watch the video, so that you have some informed time with me. So after you watch the video, if you do have any questions, then that will be a good time for you to ask. Otherwise, I was only able to really teach this class every so often with all the other subjects that I teach. So doing it this way is a huge blessing, and I think it's going to work really well for you as well. So again, my name is Alicia McNaughton, and this is the I have two businesses. The Holistic Mystic is where you would get sessions from me, or come to one of my sound baths, or get a reading from me. And then this is the Mystical Institute of Healing Arts. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So hopefully this is also a prerequisite class. So in order to take this class and get the attunement, you will have had to had a level 2 usui Reiki attunement, levels 1 and levels 2. If you did not take those from me, but you have a certificate, you can still take Reiki level 3 with me. You just have to be able to prove that you're at that level, okay? All right, so the booklet that we're going to be working, there's a table of contents on page 2, and there's a lot of information in this booklet. When I taught in person, I would teach Reiki level 3 over a period of 5 days with a group. And it was a lot of, live practice. We would do and practice attunements every single day. We would practice healings on each other, and I would give them a lot of, one-on-one coaching, things like that, because there's going to be, a clearing process. And when you receive your Reiki level 3 attunement, what you're receiving is a symbol called Ko Myo. So I'll show it to you. I'm going to show it to you, but it won't work unless you receive this attunement from a Reiki master. But this is Ko Myo, and Ko Myo is the teaching energy. So what I've noticed is a lot of people learn how to step into their power, learn how to find their voice, learn how to deal with their anger in this class, just with the energy itself. Because if you have repressed anger from things that you weren't strong enough to speak out about, then they're going to come up. Your anger is in a way where you find your power. It's also where you find your boundaries. So anger is just, hey, you stepped on my toes and that hurt, so next time would you mind just backing up a little bit, right? We don't just let people step on our toes all the time and just constantly be in pain and holding it in. That's not healthy. So there is a certain amount of healthy anger. The unhealthy version would be to just constantly let people step on your toes and then be a martyr and always complain about it but never do anything about it, right? That's toxic anger that people are holding on to, and everybody has some of that, especially If you're a really kind person and you want to keep the peace and you're super empathic and you're used to taking care of everybody else's needs, which is actually pretty common with healers. So when they would come into circle and they would start to process, no, it's time for you to learn how to hold space for the group and to, be in your power, because as a teacher, it's important for the teacher to be able to hold boundaries for everybody in the room and create sacred space. Means you're going to have to learn how to say, hey, you're stepping on my toes, or you're stepping on their toes, right? So in that process, the teaching energy is, again, doing a healing on the teacher, student. So those of you who are going to receive this attunement, the energy, the Ko Myo energy, is going to be looking for those pockets of energy where you haven't fully stepped into your power or embraced who you are as a teacher. And it's going to bring that to the surface and allow you to deal with those things, right? So a lot of people will work on their inner child issues in class. Another really common one is past lifetimes. Particularly with students who are drawn to working with me or end up in my classroom, because that's one of the things that is my divine life purpose, is to help people, help healers, help people to deal with their karmic issues and resolve them. So what I'll say about that when I'm working with healers is oftentimes I'll see different things that they went through, with the witch trials, with a lot of people, who had very religious lifetimes. There was more than one crucifixion that was going on back then. I don't mean to laugh, it's not funny, but you'll see these things that went on. People who were killed for bringing a message that the world wasn't necessarily ready for, right? A lot of herbalists or healers, they just called it witchcraft back then. Some of them were actually doing witchcraft, and some of them were midwives. Some of them weren't magical at all, but it was just a very, very common thing back then to, in the Inquisition, to have a lot of murders of women for being caretakers. And one of the things that you'll see if you're clairvoyant like I am and you're doing past lifetime work, or even in your own dreams when you're dealing with some of these lifetimes, or your own visions, if you have visions, is you might see being punished for healings that didn't quite go the way that they wanted them to. So what you'll learn as a healer is some things we can heal, and some things aren't meant to heal. Some things have gone too far, and you have to really honor what would be in the highest good of all concerned. So like, let's say there was a war or something. If somebody comes in and they're on their last breath and you're the healer, they might think, hey, you're magical, you should be able to bring this person back to life. And with Reiki, that's not really what we do. Reiki isn't about resurrecting somebody who is on death's door. It's about accelerating the healing process. It's about clearing away negativity. It's about helping a person's soul to evolve. And you really can, place it over a wound when somebody's healing and really help that healing process. But it isn't a fix-all. It does take work to be able to heal. So in those days, especially if it was a person in power, let's say it was a king or a queen, and they wanted you to cure something that was either incurable, or that person maybe was meant to go at that time, they would kill the healers. So a lot of us are really, really afraid to come out and be healers or say that we're doing healing work, because we've been killed for it in other lifetimes. Whereas other people, if let's say you have other abilities besides Reiki, where you're giving prophetic information, and the information that you're giving isn't necessarily something that person wants to hear, which is pretty common actually. I mean, when you do give spiritual information, you're really giving it truthfully, in integrity, and in alignment with what you are seeing and what spirit is dropping in for that person. And it's not to boost that person's ego. Now, again, if you're a king or a queen, you're used to everybody boosting your ego and being really nice to you because you're in a position of power. So oftentimes they would have advisors on staff so to speak, or, you know, working for them, to assist them in a way that would really work out for them, but not necessarily in the highest good of all concerned. And so this is where, you know, things got a little wonky, things got a little bit dicey, and there's just a long history that we're all clearing, and we're all coming back into integrity, back into alignment. We're really remembering all of the mistakes that we've made, coming here again and again with this light. And I'm not saying that Reiki doesn't heal, because it absolutely does. I use it all the time. I use it every day. I've seen it do incredible things. But there is a process to the healing work, and it's part of our job to educate people on what that process is. So if you've been paying attention, you've been watching the other videos, we do go into what that process is. And what that process is the Reiki's gonna go in, it's gonna look for an area of stored energy. Trauma, toxins, memories, things that you weren't able to deal with before that are lodged in that part of the body, that's making that part of the body you know, go wonky or go out of alignment or deficient, so that the life force isn't flowing through that area, and it's kind of this, you know, danger zone for that person until this energy comes out and the body goes back into balance. This part is very susceptible to picking up things that are unhealthy, right? So it can even be, you know, considered like things that might be considered bad luck. Like if somebody's going through a long stretch of things that just don't seem to be going their way, they probably need an energy clearing. They're stuck in belief patterns or thought patterns, or you know, rigid concepts that have been ingrained over long periods of time that are still replaying over and over and over again from past lifetimes. Like phobias are that way. Relationship issues can be that way, where people are still working out dynamics and they're still learning their lessons and learning how to resolve their unhealed issues from past lives, and they're reincarnated and they're in the same family again, or at a job together, or, you know, it's your child or your husband or something like that. And there's like a lot of stored up energy, and you don't really know where that's coming from. Well, when you come in with the Reiki is going to help to reveal, to unveil, and to lift out those patterns so that we can actually let them go and shift and clear and bring everything back into balance and heal. Now, for some people, they've been doing a lot of work on themselves, and by the time they come over to you, they've already been through a lot of the cognitive therapies, a lot of the you know, Western medicine treatments, and they're ready to deal with the energetic portion of it. And then it's easier to deal with because they've been working through it for a little while. Like some people are, you know, in recovery from whatever they were doing that was, like, let's say they're in recovery from addictions, and so they've been dealing with it for a long time. They just have these blind spots that they haven't been able to find yet. So when they get to the Reiki part of their treatment as a whole being, you know, working with the mental, the physical, the emotional, and the spiritual, and we can work on all of those different layers of the aura, but really we're coming at this from more of a spiritual perspective. So like, let's say somebody works out a lot and they're very physically strong, and they've been working through their energy that way. We're going to bring in a different element to it. But if somebody's done nothing and they're really in it and they're really stuck in this situation, the Reiki is definitely going to help, but it's only going to bring them to the next level of what they can handle. Why? Because the body has to be able to process the healing every single time, and that takes a little while. Your body can only handle so much, the mind can only handle so much, your aura and your energy can only process so much. So there's things that you want to do to support the healing process. You know, I have this beautiful list on page 10 of our workbooks here of nutritional supplements that a person can take that are holistic in nature. And again, we have our disclaimer where we're always explaining to people that this is like a great supplement, or in addition to your regular doctor's advice. Okay, so we don't prescribe and we don't diagnose. But miraculous things can really, really happen when a person comes back into balance and back into harmony, and they learn their lessons, and they're connecting again to their soul work, they're connecting again to their higher power, and they're really in alignment. For some people, this is something that they do on their yoga mat, and this is sufficient for them. Some people go surfing, some people run. I do energy work. I do energy work every single day. I've been doing it since I was a kid. It's my medicine. Those other medicines, I tried them out and I see how it works and I understand it, and I always come back to doing energy work even when I'm doing those things, right? So maybe you are too, or you wouldn't be here. You probably are working with energy. Obviously, you're ready to teach it. So we're talking about Ko Myo and what it's going to bring up. So the reason why I went over that again is just in case this is your first video with me, and I just wanted to go over the healing process a little bit. So Ko Myo, again, it's going to be helping you to let go of those hang-ups that you might have about being visible or being seen. A lot of us are used to doing things in the background. You know, we're not totally 100%, you know, out in the open on social media about our spiritual practices. You know, some of us have family that might have a different spiritual perspective, and we're not ready to talk about it with them yet, so we keep a lid on it, you know. But the Reiki is, especially when you go to teach it, it's going to help you to look at that again and revisit that and say, okay, it's better if you can fully live in alignment with who you really are and to be authentic. So any areas that are coming to mind as we're talking about this is probably what's going to start to come up for you. If you're in a power struggle with like a boss or somebody in your family or somebody close to you who makes you feel small in some way, it's going to help you to speak up. It's going to help you to have a voice. It's going to help you to realize what's been going on in those environments and to make some healthy choices for yourself. So ultimately, this is a very positive thing to do for yourself, even if you're not going to teach Reiki. Surprisingly, I've had a great number of students over the years who love to take Reiki classes, not because they want to teach or even use it for other people, but for their own personal development. And I will say, with all of the things that I've experienced personally to heal myself, becoming a healer was the most healing, miraculous thing I could have ever done. Because going on this path nothing really hides. You can't really hide from yourself anymore or hide any of these patterns. They're all coming up, and they're all coming up with a great deal of spiritual light to resolve things and to accelerate your ascension process as a soul. So I highly recommend it. I think if everybody, I always say this, if everybody got at least a Reiki level 1, especially if they got all 3, Reiki level 1, 2, and 3, the world would be a much better place, and especially if you use it. The more you use it, the more it's going to work for you. So, all right. Okay, so in our table of contents on page 2, we're just going over some of the key points. So I did a separate video on how to actually do a Reiki attunement. Okay, so what I'd like to teach you about is Ko Myo and what it means, because this is the symbol that you're going to be using for this Reiki Master training. Okay. So the meaning is, I align myself with the Creator. Dai means great. Ko means bright. Myo means light, great, shining light. So these are Japanese words. The treasure tower of light. Great beings of the universe shine on me. The temple of the great ray of light. Great light of the universe that guides me. And the last source of love. So the action is, it works mainly on the superior chakras, the throat chakra, the third eye, and the crown chakra, rebalancing the energy of circulation from the crown to the root chakra. So for self-empowerment, it's an energy amplifier. It's energizing, it's great for protection, for harmonizing, for cellular and genetic healing. It's great for purification. It increases intuition and creativity. The use, again, empowerment. So you keep hearing this word again and again and again. So people will really feel it right here in their solar plexus, I've found. Empowerment, spiritual connection, meditation, Reiki attunements, increases intuition and creativity, and increases the patient's immunity. Okay, so again, when we're really stressed out or really run down is when our energy is weak and we don't have as much of a barrier in our aura. Our auras, when our auras are really, really revitalized and really full of this life force, it's almost like, you know, things just bounce right off. Bad vibes or viruses or anything seems to have a really nice buffer when you're feeling really good. So that's one of the reasons why it's really wonderful for immunity. Oh, it says in case of tiredness, it is applied to the patient's head for mental healing. All right, so in the book, this one's gonna look a little bit different. So we're on page 16, and I'll show it to you right here. So this looks slightly different than the symbol that I have over here. Let's see if I can hold these both up for you. There we go. So they're similar, but they're not exactly the same. But they're similar enough, and the reason why they're different is because when this first came over from Japan, or when this was taught in Japan, they weren't allowed to keep things in print. They were only allowed to memorize it and then burn the paper. So it's remembered differently. But the spirit guides that are bringing this beautiful Ko Myo energy to us, when our intention is to call in Ko Myo and we're drawing it pretty much the right way, or at least the way that we feel confident to write it, then they understand what we mean, and it works every single time. Okay, so let's draw it together. And again, this only works if you have a Reiki attunement, which is a ceremony from a Reiki master to call on this beautiful energy and to bring it into your chakras to make you a Reiki master teacher. Okay, so it goes like this. So I'll trace it for you. So it starts with 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then 7, 8, 9, 10. Then you say it 3 times. Ko Myo, Ko Myo, Ko Myo. The way that I remember it is kind of fun. It looks like a little stick figure, and then a stick figure kicking, and then a little Pac-Man, and then a lightning bolt. And so it's like this energy is coming down through. So it's going from the person, it's moving higher, it's going greater than, and then it's going down into the person. So that's how I remember it. Maybe that'll help you out. So you can use Ko Myo for energy work. It doesn't always have to just be to do an attunement. Like even when I'm going to teach other classes, when I'm wanting to step into my teacher's hat, when I'm wanting to put on my teacher's hat, calling in Ko Myo helps me to remember, you know, oh yeah, I'm going to start calling in the teacher energy, and it puts me in that zone. But it is really a beautiful, you know, energy to call in with the others, with Chokurei, with Honsha Seishonen, with Seiki. So I like to call them all in. So you can do Reiki attunements in person or long distance. All right, so I did a video that's separate that you can watch on how to give a Reiki attunement. The way that you would do it, you know, distance would be like this. Okay, so I'm gonna intend right now that I'm sitting across from the person, and I'm gonna have them sit in a chair, and I'm gonna have them sit with their hands, you know, resting face up on their lap, and I'm gonna call in the teacher energy, and I'm gonna call it in, I'm gonna bring it into their crown chakra, and I'm gonna visually blow it in. And then I'm gonna call it down to their right and left side, balancing it, balancing the polarities, right, left, masculine, feminine, yin and yang, and just really fill that up and allow it to go all the way down the person's spine. Come around to bring it into their crown chakra and their third eye, and I'm just gonna visualize, their third eye and their animal eye, so the front and the back of their head. I'm gonna really visualize and intend that this is going to be happening. It works long distance. And then I'm going to visualize that I'm going to be bringing it into each one of their chakras. So I'm going to blow it into their palms, and then I'm going to blow it into their root, sacral, solar plexus, heart, throat, third eye, and crown. And I'm going to call in this beautiful plane of Reiki energy. I'm going to bring it all the way down and clearing them. And then I'm going to ask them to breathe out anything that no longer serves them, bringing it all the way up and clearing their system, turning it over to the Reiki guides, sealing it in as it is above, so below. And I would do this slower. So you can do this over like a Zoom class, which is, I've done it and it works really well. I've received it and I've been surprised how the energy just fills up the room. It's very, very nice. I love doing things in person, but it is great that the energy will travel. I've sent healing all over the world. I've sent Reiki attunements to my mom, who is in spirit. I was able to Reiki attune her. The way that you would Reiki attune a spirit is only if they're asking for it, which she was. You would be surprised. I've taught a lot of classes and I've had a lot of people in the spirit world who knew me in life, and they're fascinated by what we're doing down here when we're gathering and all this light comes in. And I've also seen other people's ancestors want to join in on the Reiki classes. So my intention is not to do that, because we're trying to only call in the Reiki guides and keep the space really high. But sometimes, especially if you're at home and you're doing your own healing practice, your ancestors might ask for it, and mine did. So she came in and I just drew the symbol and I intended for it to go right in. And since she had transparent body, I didn't have to scoop up her hands and blow it in or anything. It was just intention, bringing it through each one of her chakras. And I watched her glow, and then she would even come back in when I was doing healings and then send me some light, which is very special. So you really can give Reiki attunements to the living or the dead, deceased. Spirit people is what we like to call them. So, I've even done Reiki attunements where like the computer was right here and I stood behind the computer and I visualized that I was working, behind them like I would behind a person, and came around to the front of the computer and brought it in through their chakras. I've even started sandwiched the computer to bring in attunements, like I was hovering, through each one of their chakras, only going down the computer screen like that. You can also do it on the telephone, or not even on the phone with them at all. You can text them and let them know that you're going to be doing it, and you can visualize the person. So again, you have to have an attunement from a Reiki master before you can do this, and you also need to have their permission. But you can sit down and tell them, okay, at whatever time I'm going to be doing a Reiki attunement on you, and you can really do the full ceremony, really envision that they are sitting in front of you. And you can do something called by proxy. And by proxy, you can either bring like a teddy bear or a body pillow, or just really envision them in front of you if you're good at connecting, calling in their higher self, calling in your higher self to intend that they receive this Reiki attunement at a specific time, and really envision that you're doing this whole thing. And you want to spend like 1 to 3 minutes on each of the hand positions. I'm doing it really fast for the sake of the video, but you can spend as long as you want. I've received it before and it's really powerful. even though I already had a Reiki attunement, you can also get what's called a refresher attunement, which feels really, really good. And when I do Reiki shares or like Reiki circles, oftentimes it's a bunch of people who already have Reiki who just kind of want to get together and do Reiki. And attunements are healings. They feel amazing. Just because you already have, you know, your Reiki attunement doesn't mean that another one isn't going to feel really, really good. Especially the way that I've learned that it's just another clearing and it's another download. So oftentimes people will get a higher blast of light that comes into their life at the right time. Like some people got attuned 18 years ago and they hardly ever use it anymore and they think they need it again. So one of two things I've suggested. Rather than telling somebody that they should take a whole nother class with me when I really know that they still have Reiki, they just need to remember how to use it. Sometimes I'll just encourage them to come to one of my Reiki circles and just tap into it again. It's still there for them. They just forgot. They sort of put it up on a shelf. And some people really want to go through the whole class again, and that's okay. They can totally come and take it again. But once you have Reiki, you have it for the rest of your life. So a Reiki attunement is permanent. If for some reason you don't feel like you got a Reiki attunement, you know, we can always do it again because they're guaranteed. So, like if you felt like you really didn't get it, we would just give it to you again, and that's a good rule of thumb, is to not keep charging people over and over and over again. But especially particularly with a Reiki level 1, each time you receive a Reiki attunement, you're opening up the chakras and you're increasing this flow to go through a person's meridians and to just get used to the energy. Now, some people, they're locked up or they have a lot of blockage, and they might not feel the energy super strong. And if you try to make them feel it super strong and give them a really strong attunement or set the intention that you're really going to blast them with light, their healing crisis is going to be very intense because they're going to have a lot of stuff come up at once to match how strong the attunement you gave them is. And I've done this before because the person asked me to, and I've noticed that they had like a lot more stuff to process versus setting the intention where we're going to ask that all the energy and information that comes through be in the highest good of all concerned, what this person most needs at this time and what they're ready for. Ever since I've been doing that, rather than listening to their ego and trying to please them, really listening to what would be right for them at this time from spirit, it's just been very nice and soft and lovely for that person. So that's distance attunement. And again, there's an actual demo that we're gonna have on here at the end of this that you can watch of me giving a Reiki attunement to somebody, so you can actually see what it's like on an actual person. All right. So once you have Reiki level 3, once you have your Ko Myo symbol, a great way to advertise your Reiki business is to have a Reiki circle that you do, even once or a monthly. And this is on page 23. All right, so you want to have a welcoming environment if you're going to do a Reiki circle. My first Reiki circle was at the beach, and I had everybody bring their own chair or towel to sit on, and I brought, a beautiful, blanket with some crystals and some angel cards, and we all had an intention of what we were going to send Reiki to, and I would look up the news, and I would see, what kinds of current events I thought it would be nice to send Reiki to as a group. And it was a beautiful, powerful thing. It actually really helped heal that fear of being seen from past lifetimes. And it's very interesting how ready people are for this now. We got such a positive response whenever we would do this. People would walk up and want to know what we were doing and even join in sometimes, or they just felt really drawn to it. We would have animals that were really drawn to it, kids that were really drawn to it, and sometimes it's distracting, but it's also really a cool way to interact with people and to expose people to Reiki, is to do these outside. It's good to bring things that are entertaining, like a singing bowl. It's a really good thing to bring. or bringing in like a Native American flute, you know, or to bring in a gong. I have lots of really fun instruments that I like to bring. It's really nice to have something to help people to clear and to connect. This is sacred sage from my garden. This is called smudging, and you put it in a little abalone shell. Some centers won't let you bring in actual fire, so it's good to bring in aromatherapy that's separate, that doesn't necessarily light. But smudging, all right, so you're basically taking the smoke and you're washing yourself with it. If I were to actually smudge somebody, I could just bring this through. So I'm sending Reiki with my hand, and I'm also using the smoke to purify and to call in light. Actually, lighting a candle is a visual representation of light. When I'm in certain centers, I'll bring in, you know, a battery powered one, and that's okay. It's good to have some beautiful crystals if you have any. This is crystal quartz, which is known as the master healer. This has been in many, many circles, so every time I pick it up, it feels really, really happy, because it's just always been a holding space for Reiki classes. I love this piece. And I would place this on a pillow in the center of the room. And then around it, I would put different Reiki symbols. And I would lay down a tapestry and set it down in the center so we all had a focal point, which is a good thing to do. And you know, you want to get creative about it. You want to follow your intuition. You want to be excited about it. You want it to be fun. You always want to call in your Reiki healing energy. So choku-rei, 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 choku-rei. Calling it in the four corners, four walls, ceiling and floor, and visualizing a beautiful radiant light all the way around the space. And we're inviting in just the highest vibration of Reiki light, asking that all the energy and information that comes through please be in the highest good for all concerned. Letting go of what no longer serves us. Keeping it simple with Reiki. Reiki is a very beginner modality. So you're going to attract people that are coming from very specific religious beliefs, or some people who are very agnostic. And this is how people are opening the door to explore. Reiki is one of the first things that people try. You know, massage, acupuncture, yoga, Reiki. It's right there. I like to keep things very simple. I like to have pleasing visuals so that people automatically feel at peace. If people are feeling at peace and they come in and they're comfortable, they're going to be aligning with really beautiful, safe energy, and they're going to have a good time. If they're asking really esoteric, advanced questions, you can tell them, maybe we can talk about this some other time. Tell them when you do private sessions, and steer the conversation back to your intention. So you want to explain what your intention is. I always say I call in the highest vibrational Reiki, spirit guides, archangels, ascended masters, to support and surround everyone with healing light. People are usually really good with that. I've had some people who just want to connect with Reiki as just Reiki, and they don't want to talk about Reiki guides or anything like that. And you can do that. You can totally do that. But because I'm clairvoyant, I mean, I can see the angelic beings coming into the room. I can see the ancestors. I can see them all. So to ignore them almost feels rude for me. But for other people, it's just the energy that they're feeling from them, and that's enough for them. So you want to read your audience when you're teaching a class, is to, you know, always teaching at the right level for that person. So if they're here, you want to go to the next level. You don't want to blast them way over here. You want this to be a general explanation of what Reiki is and a place to practice. So you want to ask people too if they're allergic to aromatherapy, or if they're okay if you light some incense before you just spray it all over the room. So if you have some aromatherapy, you can put a couple drops in your hand and you can rub your hands together and breathe it in. I would go around the room and drop a little bit of aromatherapy in everybody's hands, and then it just immediately shifts the mood. And it's a fun addition. And if you sell aromatherapy products, then it's a great segue to maybe combine your aromatherapy line with Reiki. I did that for a long time. You want to welcome everybody who comes into your group. You either want to just acknowledge them with a hello and a nod, some type of formal greeting, you know, handshake. Some people are huggers, some people aren't huggers. You want to be mindful of that, and mindful of yourself and whatever your preference is. And just like if somebody were to come over to your house, you want to let them know where they can put their things, you know, where they can sit, what time we're going to start, that type of thing. I would usually, in the beginning, I didn't have all the things, so I would have them bring their own chair, bring their own yoga mat. Some places provide all of that, and you want to have it set up ahead of time. And I always like to Reiki the room ahead of time and call in sacred space ahead of time by being grounded, centered, clearing and bringing light into each one of my chakras, visualizing light all the way around myself, taking some nice long deep breaths in, pushing myself, my own like process to the side, calling in my higher self to pull me up out of my ego and into light, into service work, seeing things from a higher perspective. And this is just so that I'm not, you know, I'm becoming an open channel. I'm becoming a vessel. I'm aligning myself with the more angelic part of me, rather than the human me, so that I can actually show up for people without attachment. And non-attachment is how you're not going to take on energy, and it's how you're going to let people have their own process. So as much as it's super fun that you get to meet people in Reiki circles, it's good to hold space for them and to be a leader. You're not necessarily saying that you're like on different levels, but for that particular day, you're going to be holding space for them as a leader. You're not going to necessarily like leave with them and go hang out. You're going to let them come in here. You're going to be the holder of sacred space and let them leave and go back home. This isn't your place to make close personal connections. It's okay to give out your business card, to let them know when you're going to be having Reiki classes and when you're going to meet again, but you are there to represent Reiki and to hold space for their healing. So it's a little bit like being a person's doctor or therapist in a way. You want to be professional. You can be friendly. It's good to be friendly, but you're not there to share or dump your own personal issues on the group either. And if someone else is doing that, you want to make sure that you're setting the stage for what they can share. So when we would go around the room, so that wouldn't happen, I would let people know, okay, so we're going to be here, from 7 to about 8:30. And we're going to have a Reiki practice where everybody practices these Reiki symbols. These are the symbols that we're going to be working with today, and this is what they mean. And I give everybody a handout to what these symbols mean. We're going to do temporary or refresher attunements. And then we're going to come back in here and we're going to sit for a little while, and then we're going to play the singing bowl and everybody's going to relax. And then we're going to do a trade where if you want to practice giving Reiki, we're going to go around the room and we're going to give Reiki to those who want to receive it, and then we're going to switch. So that's a Reiki share. A Reiki share is when people are practicing Reiki on each other. A Reiki circle is a little bit different. So you want to let people know if we're doing a Reiki share or a Reiki circle. A Reiki circle is, okay, so we're all going to get together about this world cause, And we're not here to get political or debate about any of these causes. We're just here to send Reiki to the situation. So here's the situation. Here's what's been going on out in the world. There's all these different viewpoints on how it should be handled. What we're going to do is we're just going to call in a higher power. We're going to call in this beautiful light, and we're all going to center and be in our bodies and send this healing light to it. And we're going to send the intention that you're free to accept or reject this energy. And we're going to ask that all that's being done is being done in the highest good of all concerned. And you're going to do this, and it's so beautiful and powerful to do. Okay, when everybody is coming together in their heart space to really just call light to their corner of the world. And there's people doing this all over the world. And the more we can do this and anchor in the frequency on our portion of the earth grid, then the stronger the light is able to travel through what I call the unity consciousness grid, bringing in this higher frequency of health, wellness, vitality, and light. Okay, so when there's dark times going on in the world, this is what light workers are here to do. We're a place of refuge. We're supporting you through these times. We're supporting ourselves through these times. We're supporting each other. It's a collective of beautiful light beings coming together to assist. It's refuge. So in order for us to have that, it's really important for us to kind of stay out of the argument and not make it into a political or a religious discussion, which is not easy to do because it seems like, especially when these issues are really important, that spiritual people should have an opinion. And I'm not saying you can't have one, but I'm just saying let's let Reiki be available to all. So regardless of whether you believe what I believe or you don't, I still want you to have access to Reiki, and I want Reiki to help you through that. And I'm just here to help you connect with Reiki. So again, you got to remember what our singular purpose is coming back to this. And we're not here to pretend like these things aren't going on in the world. I totally believe in being able to be authentic. It's just, we don't want to come together and get in a huge argument about what's going on in the world. We're having a Reiki share or a Reiki circle, and this is a place of refuge. We have our own ways of being able to campaign. If you want to go out and campaign, then go out and campaign. You can totally do that, just not in the Reiki circle. Unless you are all going to, unless you're advertising it that way. Like, okay, I am going to campaign or protest over here, and then afterwards we're all going to have a Reiki circle. So if everybody is on board, that's okay. Like everybody went and protested about some major cause, and then they all wanted to get together and send Reiki to that situation, that's totally fine. But if you're going to be at a center, like a spiritual center where it's not about that, it's about learning about Reiki. You want to make sure people have a safe space to go and learn about Reiki without having to get into a giant debate about something. So that's the difference. And people will try. So as the leader, you want to make sure and say that. What we're going to be doing as the Reiki circle is all about this world issue, as what I'm teaching you today is the Reiki is going to bring things out of distortion and into alignment for ourselves. And we're going to be bringing in that light into the unity consciousness grid in this corner of the world, at this center, in this town. We're going to be calling in the light here. This is a safe space for us to really just explore Reiki and to allow it to heal us during this hard time. We're not here to discuss the specifics. So I just ask you to please keep your opinions to yourself, but we're just going to allow the Reiki to do what it does. Okay, so that's what our purpose is. And then if somebody steps out of line, it's up to you to let them know, okay, maybe we can talk about that some other time. That's enough. We're going to come back to sending Reiki to our cause, and we're going to go around the room and maybe introduce ourselves, saying, what is your name? What level Reiki are you? What calls you to the Reiki circle today? What would you like to work on? That type of thing. Or tell us something spiritual about yourself, right? So you always want to set an intention and set your boundaries. A fun one for me is letting people know that this is, we're not going to do crosstalk. So if somebody shares what's going on with themselves, we're just all going to hold space. So we're not going to all give that person advice or give them, you know, messages from spirit or healing work or anything like that. The only time we're going to do healing work is when we're going to trade. So at that point, if somebody wants to share something with you, that would be an appropriate time for you to give feedback. But while we're going around the room, we're just going to hold space for everybody. So I want everybody to have, you know, the freedom to be able to share what's going on with them without feeling like somebody's going to come and try to interact with them about that. You can come up to the person afterwards and say, you know, I really related to what you said, but you're not going to come up to them and tell them what to do. So that is creating sacred space for the group. And so there's a lot of different ideas on what's appropriate and what isn't appropriate as far as showing up, you know, drug-free or sober, because of plant medicine. So there are a lot of groups that love plant medicine and that include plant medicine in their circles and in their Reiki circles. And this is a little bit like the religious discussion or the political discussion. Again, if everybody is doing that and they also want to do Reiki, that's totally fine. But if you're going to be in a professional setting, then you want to make sure that it's not about other things. It's about Reiki, that you're not going to sit around and pass a joint in your Reiki circle when somebody's going to come up off the street and be expecting a Reiki share. You want to make sure that you're honoring and respecting what Reiki is about and make sure that it's about Reiki. And if somebody does show up and they're you know, on hallucinogens or they're drunk or they're acting inappropriately, that you make sure you let that person know that they need to keep it down, and that the next time that they come to your circle, if they could please you know, not show up under the influence. That we want to make sure that people are able to come and go in their car, and you know, that they're okay to drive, and that this is a sober setting, things like that. So yeah. So giving handouts, having a mailing list is really great for future events. So oftentimes people will give Reiki shares for free or for donation, and mainly it's there, you know, to be of service, to share your Reiki, to get started, and to advertise your classes. So if you're not, you know, taking down, you know, giving people an opportunity to sign up for your mailing list, you're kind of wasting your time. And after a while, you're going to realize that you wish you did, because now you want to get in touch with those people again and let them know when you're having an offering. And if they didn't sign up, you'll have no way of doing that. So do it. Remember it. You want to give a definition about what is Reiki, right? So these are the things that people are going to want to know in a Reiki class. So I went and found, you know, descriptions that I liked online about what is Reiki. And I have these, you know, where does Reiki come from? What is Reiki? I have these around the focal point in the grid for people to look at, and we briefly go over it. You know, it is a Japanese healing modality. Reiki is universal life force energy. It's something that you need to get an attunement for in order to send. We're going to give you temporary attunements today if you've never been attuned to Reiki, so that you can join our circle and feel it and see if you like it. If you do like it, you can take a Reiki level 1 class. I'll be offering them, you know, whenever you're going to be offering them, and then you can sign up for you know, these dates at this rate. Here's the flyer. Then when they take the class, you can go into more depth about these topics, and they can have your manual and all of that. Okay. You want to make sure too that you're explaining to people what the hand positions are, especially if you're going to have them trading. And not take for granted that everybody knows what these hand positions are. So, and how to hold space for another person. Sometimes there'll be like a brand new person there, and like a Reiki master who's been doing this for 20 years there. So When the Reiki master lays down and they're trading with somebody who's brand new, you're going to have to make sure that you're over there explaining to the new person how to do this, or let them receive first from the experienced person so that they actually have an idea of what to expect, right? So, you know, just let them know we're gently resting on the head, the weight of the nickel, over the eyes, over the ears, over the throat, but we're not touching the throat, we're hovering over the throat. Make sure that they know to go up above and below the bra line, things like that. So also, it's really important for people to know, if you are practicing the symbols, some people may be only a Reiki level 1, or some people might be brand new. You want to make sure that they understand that they have to have a Reiki attunement for these symbols to work, that they're not leaving your Reiki circle as a Reiki level 2 practitioner just because we practice the symbols. This is just an introductory, you know, way of getting you to understand about Reiki. And if you want to use these symbols again in the future, you will need to take a Reiki level 2 class. Very important. You'd be surprised how many people, particularly in the yoga communities, think of a Reiki share like a yoga class, and this is just something that they can continue to do after they leave. I've had to explain that to people quite a bit. So let's see. So how do you do a temporary attunement? Well, there's the bringing the energy into the crown, there's the bringing it into the third eye, and then there's the bringing it into the palms, and then there's blowing it into each one of the chakras, and then there's the clearing that happens afterwards. If you have a whole room full of people and you only have an hour, you're not necessarily going to have time to do that whole thing. So you want to just briefly tune into the person intuitively and just make a choice. Just make a choice. It doesn't have to, just don't overthink it. Just whatever the first thing comes to mind. You know, do you feel like this person needs a crown opening so that they can connect more? Does this person need a heart opening so that they can feel love? Does this person need their hands opened? Where do you think the light should go? And I often look for where there's a blockage, and what would be healing for that person. Where would be a good place? Where do I feel drawn to send their Reiki today? And I just intend with the Ko Myo energy that I'm going to be bringing the energy there, then it's going to last for 24 hours. That's my intention, and then I let it go. And then when we go to do the practice part, I'm guiding them through a breath, taking a nice long deep breath in, exhaling, allowing the energy to go all the way down into Mother Earth. Breathing earth energy up into your body. And exhale and release anything that no longer serves you all the way down into Mother Earth. Allowing that line of intention to go from the earth all the way up the center of your body, straight up through your crown chakra, all the way up through the ceiling, through the cosmos, all the way up into the central sun. Visualizing this healing radiant light coming down from the central sun, calling in Reiki out the palms of your hands, staying centered. Visualizing that ball of light all the way around us. Opening up your heart space and allowing the Reiki to flow. We're allowing it to come through us. We're not forcing it. We're not thinking about it. We're just allowing it to flow. Feeling the light shine. A really fun exercise is to receive from the left and to send with the right, and to have another person's palm here and here, and to allow the energy to go in a circle clockwise all the way around the room, and then reverse it and go counterclockwise all the way around the room. Super fun. Bringing your hands to heart center to close, or beaming towards the center of the room, or trading. Okay, now if you're going to trade, you have to tell them where to lay down. So I usually have them bring a yoga mat and 2 bolsters or 2 pillows, one underneath their head, one underneath their knees, and a blanket depending on how warm it is, how cool it is. And then you're going to guide them through it. Okay, so you're going to tell them, you're going to partner them up. Okay, so I usually intuitively will scan the room, and I'll feel like, okay, we're going to partner you two together, you two together, you two together, and you two together. You're going to go first, you're going to receive, you're going to give, and go around the room. Okay, so those of you who are going to receive, go ahead and lay down, and you're going to set up your yoga blanket with a pillow for your head and your knees. Everybody lay down. Those of you who are going to give, you're going to sit behind them. And we're going to go through a grounding exercise. Everybody release their grounding cord. Visualize roots growing all the way down the soles of their feet. Taking a nice long cleansing breath. Breathing that line of energy all the way up. And exhale, allow the Reiki to flow out of your hands today. Everybody going to start at the crown chakra, and we're going to do this practice for 10 minutes, and I'll let you know when we're done. Okay, so they're going to be going through the hand positions, and you can guide them through that. At the end, you're going to say, okay, that's all the energy that we're going to do. So I'm going to ask that all the light that needs to come through for that person come through in the next 10 seconds and be complete. Wait 10 seconds. Okay, I seal this healing in white light. I seal in this healing in Reiki light. Have them bow out of that person's chakra. Visualize them in white light. Take a nice long deep breath in. And exhale, go ahead and push them all the way out of your aura. And then bring your arm out in front of you, and then you're going to release their energy, calling your energy back and releasing their energy. All right, great. So go ahead and give and receive feedback. And you're going to give them about 5 minutes to do that, and then you're going to come around with like a bell or something. All right, we're ready to trade. Everybody go ahead and trade. If you were just the person who was receiving, you're going to be giving. And those of you who were giving, it's your turn to receive. And we're going to do this Reiki practice for about 10 minutes. And so you'll do that again, that whole thing again. Then at the end, you're going to say, okay, it's okay to give and receive feedback. Everybody's going to come around into Sacred Circle again. And it's a good time to bring closure to the practice. So thank you everybody for coming out today. It was such a beautiful energy exchange. I feel like you were all just such a heavenly contribution. I'm so happy that you're here. Thank you for sharing your light with us. We meet here on the second Saturday of every month at 7 o'clock. I look forward to seeing you all again. Don't forget to write your name down on our email list if you want to be notified of any future events, and we'll see you next time. And that's it. Okay, so that's your Reiki circle. And again, all these steps are written down, so if you forget anything, it's on page 24 of the manual. Along with some really great, advice on where you can have Reiki circles, different things that you can say are all written down here. How much it costs, at different locations. It can be anywhere from $33 to $75 an hour to rent space. Some spaces will let you do it for free because you really are blessing their space, and it's good advertising for them to have a Reiki circle there, unless there's so many different Reiki healers. Like where we live here in California, it's pretty common now. It wasn't when I first started. When I first started, I was one of the first people who was doing it and introducing it to all these different places and explaining to them why it would be good and teaching all the owners how to do Reiki. And now it's really beautiful how it's blossomed and how many people are doing it. So I'm teaching a lot of other things now, which is great for me, and I love to teach a variety of things, but Reiki really opens the doors for people in so many ways. It's such a really peaceful oasis for them to have at their center. So you can do this on Zoom. Some people even do it, on social media. They'll just say, okay, I'm going to be sending out Reiki this time, once a week. It's going to be my Reiki share. Go ahead and write your names down, those of you who want to receive. Lots of ways to do it. On page 26, there's a place where you can get all these different Reiki supplies, like Reiki music, where to get a massage table, where to get a tapestry, where to get essential oils, candles, sound healing equipment, drums, all this kind of stuff, okay? In order to become a Reiki professional, it's good to carry Reiki insurance. So there's a listing here on Massage Magazine Insurance Plus, where you can get Reiki insurance. And a lot of centers will require that you are insured when you practice at their studios, and they'll want you to provide proof of insurance. And that's just like, if somebody slips and falls, they're not liable. So You'll also need to have a minister's license to practice Reiki. You can get that at themonastery.org. You can get ordained as a minister online, and this is just to give a laying on of hands. In some places, it's legal for you to do hands-off healing, so distance healing. Hands-on, they require a massage license, but it's not that serious. I mean, you get pedicures and you get your feet massaged all the time, and manicures, and when you get your hair done, they're massaging your head. Like it's really not that big of a deal if you touch somebody, but we're not doing manual adjustments really. We're doing energy adjustments. But just so you know, you need to have a minister's license. So there's also some really great info on here on how to make your own website. I use Wix.com. Online booking is really nice. I use Acuity.com. How to advertise your Reiki practice. You can do this on Meetup.com. How to create advertisements. You can do this on an app called Canva. Things like that. Okay, so this is again on page 26, and then I have a mock flyer here for you on page 27. So this is an actual flyer that I used at a studio for many years. And so you have my permission to literally copy that if you want to, and just like add in your name and your links. But this is just an idea of what would be a good thing to put on yours. All right, so we are going to jump ahead. In this booklet, we discuss a lot of things, okay? So, like if you're really interested in taking this a step further, this isn't necessarily something that they teach in every single Reiki class. Reiki has become very simplified over the years and less expensive. I have a lot of other training under my belt, so I like to add in things that are interesting. I call them Reiki sprinkles, but Reiki is great because it's something that doesn't take a huge time commitment from people, and it will really be just a really lovely boost and something that people can put on a business card right away for light workers that want to be able to have something to offer. If you have the type of soul that people are drawn to and seem to want to ask you for a shoulder to cry on often enough, you might realize that you have that kind of soul and people are drawn to you. So rather than just being there for everybody all the time, you can actually start to use what you have as a professional offering and take yourself more seriously. That was the case for me. I literally had so many people that were my friends, but I found that I was there for them a lot. I was there for a lot of people all the time. Every day I would come home and there were people that I was there for, and I finally started to realize maybe I should get into this type of work because it seems to be my thing and I like it. And so I created office hours, and now that's what I do all the time, and it's beautiful. It's what I'm supposed to do. So if that's the case for you, there's other classes that we're going to be offering here on Vimeo, offering on YouTube, and on Zoom. So you can sign up on my website, theholisticmystic.com, or you can find me on Instagram, mystical_institute. You can find me on YouTube at the Holistic Mystic and Mystical Institute. So what I want to tell you though is I've added some of this into the booklet. Okay, so on page 30, there's the aura layers, there's the 7 aura colors and layers listed here. So there's also information about blockages and what that can look like. So I teach a lot of psychic development, and when I do teach this in person, we do aura readings together. And since we're doing the video, we're not really doing aura readings. You might be reading my aura, but this is a video, so read about it. And then explore and experiment with it. A fun thing to do is to allow your eyes to get kind of fuzzy when you're watching somebody, and then just let yourself kind of look through them at the energy around them. And you might start to notice what's going on in that person's field. You know, you might see like sparkles of light, you might see layers start to form around the person. Sometimes you'll see beings pop up behind them that want to say hi and talk to you. It's really kind of fun. But it happens more when you're on the table. And you might notice when you're on the table that your hands either want to like be on the person really close to their body, like their physical layer of the aura, or the mental layer, the emotional layer, or some of the more spiritual layers. Your hands can be higher. For some people, I'm like all the way across the room working on them, and I know I'm working on them, but I'm not really close to their body, and I'm working at their different layers of their aura. And so it's nice to come back to this chart and to go, okay, why was I all the way out there? And so when you're reading about it, if one of them starts to sort of jump out at you, you'll know, okay, that was the layer that I was working on, and then you can read about why and see if it resonates. And it takes some time, and you want to trust your intuition. This isn't something that's super black and white. You'll develop your own language with it, your own understanding of what spirit's trying to tell you, or what the energy is trying to tell you. But it's nice to hear, you know, about the different healers that have gone before you and what that meant to them, and see if it resonates or see if you relate. Okay, so I have it here. I did not write it. I gave credit to a lot of the different people who went into writing this. I did write a lot of the things on here, but not all of it. So, yeah. Okay, so there's also like weird stuff that you'll see in the person's auric field, like some blotchy, you know, darker energies. And these are blockages. These are things that we're going to teach you on how to remove an energy blockage. But Reiki is really more all about the light. Again, it's more of a general beginner energy modality, but if you're really able to see that stuff, you might want to know, what is that stuff? So I put it in here, you know, like what does an energy deficient see look like in the aura, you know, talking about relationship cords. And then what can you do, you know? So for me, I in the beginning especially, and he's actually always in my healings now, I like to call on Archangel Michael and ask, you know, why is this here? Where is this coming from? And how do I heal this, right? So some of us are going to pick up on energy by knowing. Some of us are going to feel. Some of us are actually going to hear this inner voice. And it's going to say meaningful things to you that aren't necessarily in your own voice, and you'll know that this is coming from, you know, a higher power. And some of us are going to actually see, you know, flashes of images in our imagination, and it's not necessarily your imagination. Okay, so spirit will be coming through the same center as your creative centers, but it will mean something. It's not going to be made up. Okay, it's actually going to be a vision. And sometimes you'll see stuff like out here that is more rare, but sometimes you will. And it takes more energy for spirit to show it to you that way. So if you actually do see something with your eyes open, they really want you to see that, like a color in somebody's field. So you can come in here and you can look at the color chart and go, okay, well, what does that color mean? And then you might have some insight. It's also really common for people on the table to see colors and want to ask you that question. So you can, you know, laminate this or have it nearby or memorize it. All right, so sometimes you're going to feel like fear-based energy in the person's aura, something that feels really negative. And what I will tell you about that, everybody wants to know what it is, and everyone's got like a whole lot of different belief systems about what it is. You know, present company included, I've done an extensive study on energy blockages. But for the sake of a Reiki class, since it is a beginner class, we don't get into it so much. But what I do tell you is the one thing that you really do need to know about it is, in order to release it, you just have to figure out what it's attaching to. Okay, so where is it coming from? what is the behavior that's out of whack in this person? What is out of alignment in this person? So while you're sending Reiki to that dark spot on their aura, or that low vibrational energy that they have, or that fear-based energy that they have, you're sending the light to it. First of all, don't tune into it so much. Stay connected to the light and just keep sending energy that way. You are bringing them into your peace. You are not moving into their fear-based energy, and you're sending the light there. You're going to draw your Reiki symbols, chokure, chokure, chokure. Call backup in. So whatever it is that you really believe in, that's what you want to call in. So for me, in the beginning, I would ask Archangel Michael to come in and to remove whatever this was, or to help me to know what it is that they need to know in order to clear this. And sometimes I would start to see like a movie in my head play out of what it was that was going on in that person's field. And I would see a movie of a past lifetime, or I would see, an image of a mom, and I would see my mom, and I would think, oh, okay, this person doesn't know my mom, so Spirit's just trying to show me mom, So I would say, okay, I'm feeling some energy that needs to heal around mom, And you got to say it as it's coming up, and then when you say whatever it is, you'll get more information. So once you say that, they'll either give you feedback, or you'll get more information from Spirit. Or you'll just keep sending Reiki there and asking them if you're having memories come up around your childhood or around mom. This is what we're working on right now, and they will have their own realizations around it. Okay, so as you're there, you might notice that it's time to start to lift some of this energy out. So we have this technique that we're going to extend our Reiki fingers. You're going to envision that you have these beautiful light fingers coming out, Reiki fingers, and you're going to draw chokure, chokure on the Reiki fingers. And you're going to draw chokure, chokure, chokure over each one of your chakras, and you're going to draw chokure over them. Chokure, chokure, chokure. And you're going to draw a big daikomyo out in front of yourself. Daikomyo, daikomyo, daikomyo. And this is about protection. You're going to call in the highest vibrational Reiki light masters to come in and work with you in spirit. And then what you're going to do is you're going to reach in and you're going to pull this thing out. So you're going to stick your Reiki fingers in, and you're, again, not getting super involved. You're just going to be like sifting flour, and you're turning this over to this higher vibrational energy, and you're just lifting it and turning it over and going in there. And don't get super involved. It's not your stuff anyways, breathe through it. And it feels really good. Every time you do this, they're going to feel lighter. They're going to feel better. They're going to have more insight. You might be getting more insight as you're doing this. And this is how you lift it out, okay? You're going to ask your higher self what it is that they need to know about this. You're going to ask for your higher self or the Reiki guides to carry this out of them and transmute it back into health. And you're going to allow them to have their own nudge into full acceptance or understanding about what's going on. So you can even ask them, how are you feeling? Is anything coming up for you right now? What are you sensing about this? And they might just tell you what's going on, which is fine. It's actually great if they can express it. When people express what's going on to them, it's wonderful for them to be able to process it and let it go. Okay? We don't take on somebody else's lesson. So we're just facilitating. On page 36, so that was page 35 that I was just reading from. There is this really great exercise where if you're not getting any information, you can do this exercise without being psychic at all, and it's powerful. So this is the Reiki removal of a blockage. So you're going to ask the client to think about the issue that they would like to have healed. You're going to ask the client to close their eyes and meditate on the issue. And you're going to ask the client, if the cause of the problem were to exist in a part of your body, what part would it be in? If the cause had a shape, what shape would it have? If the shape had a color or colors, what color would it have? If you could run your fingers over its surface, what texture would it have? Are you willing to let go of this cause and be healed now? Tell the client that you're going to send this problem up to God or higher power. Ask the client to start focusing on the shape and be willing to let it go. Also ask them to please be willing to learn any lessons and receive any information necessary for the healing process to take place. Draw the symbols that we just talked about over your body. Do the Reiki fingers. And then with clear, confident intention, you're going to ask God, your higher power, your Reiki guides, angels and archangels to work with you to create the most powerful healing possible, and then draw a chakra ray over the area where the block is located, and then do the thing where you're lifting out the energy. You're going to do this process 10 times, and then you're going to stop and you're going to ask the client, what does this shape look like now? And then you're going to go in from what you call a different vector and try doing it from a different angle, on a different angle. And you're just witnessing its removal. I mean, this is an action of, okay, this is my intention, but you aren't really doing this. You're letting the Reiki do it. You're letting Spirit do it. It's really important. You don't want to get attached to being the one who has to do it. You're facilitating, you're holding space, you're connecting with the Reiki and the guides are doing this. You're watching it happen. You're going to ask your Reiki guides or your higher self or your own soul, your own intuition, is there anything else that I'm needing to say or reveal to them to remove this? Now, sometimes you might get some serious insight, like, I really feel like if you were to allow yourself to receive this power again in your life, that you would have beneficial properties to offer others. That you have something really powerful inside of you that hasn't been birthed yet, and you're really getting close. That somebody is going to really, really sit next to you, and they're really going to notice that you are on fire with life, and they're going to really want something from you, and you're going to be able to give it. That you have this really important part of your life that you haven't fully embraced yet, and I'm here to show it to you. You know, like something like that, right? So it could be a million different things, but whatever comes to you, trust it. Just say it, okay? But, you know, before you say it, it's good to ask them, you know, are you interested in receiving any messages from Spirit today? Because some people really just want to come in and have a relaxation Reiki treatment. So it's good for them to know that that's even an option for them. For some people, it's really normal. Like for me, I get messages from Spirit all day long. It's as normal as breathing for me. So I forget, you know, for some people, Reiki is really a big deal for them. It's a big stretch for them to even explore energy work, and that's enough for them. They don't need all the other stuff that I do, right? So, or that you do. So what they might really just want is to relax and to feel this blissful light coming through them like a meditation, and they want to go off into their own journey and spirit quest. They don't necessarily want any feedback from me, which is fine. Those can be really magical, and you can just listen to music and zone out and really let this light come through, and you'll be receiving it, they'll be receiving it, and it just feels amazing, right? So some people just want that. But you might really feel, oh my gosh, I really need to say this. This is on my heart, and I need to tell this person. And then you can ask, are you interested in receiving any messages from Spirit today? They literally always say yes. So, but it seems to go better if you have their permission, I've noticed. So, after you relay the information while continuing, relay information while continuing, or stop and do this part and then continue the healing after the exchange is finished, right? Yeah, because like, sometimes people know that I can give them information, and so they want to sit there and talk to me for a really long time, which is why I started doing readings separately, because it's something you can't carry on a full-on conversation and be really focused on the healing part. You know, you might need to stop and have a reading for a little while and then be like, okay, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and go back into your little place, your little quiet place of healing, and we're going to finish the energy work. Are you ready to do the energy work now? And then go back and do that so that they can actually experience it and you can concentrate. After the shape is gone, you're going to draw Chokurei to seal in the aura. So Chokurei is like sewing up the wound. So we remove the stuff. You don't want to leave this big gaping hole. You want to fill it full of light. I do Chokurei when I'm doing Reiki, and then just visualize like this big beautiful band-aid of light, you know, really sewing it with light and filling it with light so that they're nice and plump and everything is nice and smooth. And sometimes you have to stay there for a little while. I've even like closed it up and then, you know, patted it down. There's a lot of other things I do with other forms of energy medicine to do that, but Chokurei is the Reiki way. Once that's done, you want to break the cord, you want to retract the fingers, you want to visualize light clearing yourself. So I call in my spirit team of helpers and I ask them to heal this space, make this a sacred place. And I visualize this white waterfall flowing through me, and I hereby release all energy that is not mine and that which is detrimental all the way out into Pachamama, Mother Earth. I seal this healing in white light, visualize them in white light, step back, bow out in reverence. So that is how to remove a Reiki block. That technique is brought through by William Lee Rand. And I think he got it from somewhere else too. Again, that's not a technique that I wrote, but it is a common Reiki practice. And it's good to keep Reiki so that people can learn to rely on it. Reiki has since become a very common term that people use for a lot of other things that aren't necessarily Reiki, because Reiki is famous now. It's super popular. And there's a lot of advanced people that can do all these amazing things, and then their clients are saying, no, I just want a Reiki session from you because I heard about it on the Dr. Oz show. And so people will just go, okay, yeah, well, that's Reiki. And I do a lot of advanced stuff too, but I make sure if somebody really is wanting a Reiki treatment that I give them a Reiki treatment. If I'm doing something that isn't Reiki, I tell them that these are my Reiki sprinkles. In addition to Reiki, I also do channeled healing and psychic readings and mediumship. Totally different thing. So there it is there. It's just living in integrity. So, all right. So in order to hold sacred space, it's great to do all the things that I showed you. Another Reiki sprinkle that I love is creating a crystal grid. So there's some instructions on how to create a crystal grid and what is a crystal grid in your booklet on page 38 through. There's like a lot of information here and a lot of information. There's like a little mini crystal healing book here. So 38 through 45. Basically, you have this little crystal board, and you know, you can put things on top of it. Like just this would be a really great little focal point to have in the center of the room or underneath your Reiki table when you're teaching a class, or you can put other crystals around it, and all of this information is in the book. Okay, so that's an extra added thing that when we do a lengthy class and I charge full price for the class, we'll spend time and actually create crystal grids together, which is really fun and magical. But it's in your booklet, and again, this is like a very, very small bare bones class where I want you to be able to teach Reiki. I want you to know how to give a Reiki attunement, what it means to be a Reiki teacher, and being able to afford it and take it whenever you want it. So this class is not going to be 5 days long. It'd be a really long video. All right, so we have some affirmations. We have some information on how to clear a chakra cord, which is wonderful. Okay, so if you want to clear a chakra cord, so let's say I'm having an argument with somebody that I love, and there's like this weird like cord between me and this person, and I'm noticing this pain in my heart every time I think about them. When I go to do a clearing, I want to get like a piece of selenite, or using my Reiki hands and drawing Chokurei or Seihi Ki on the area for emotional clearing, and really just like sort of like doing the blockage. We're gonna see if we can move energy through the cord, and you can follow it. You can see where this cord goes. which is fun to do. And you're going to move the energy out that doesn't belong to you, and you're going to visualize the energy that they're holding on to that's yours back to you. So you're calling your own energy back and you're releasing that energy to that person. There's more information here about that. Okay, again, that's a Reiki sprinkle. All right. There's some great information here on page 49 on how to do a past lifetime healing using Reiki. Mainly what you're wanting to do in a Reiki class is you're wanting to use Honsha Seishonen and just envision your past lifetimes. So for 30 minutes every day for 30 days, a great exercise is to just send Honsha Seishonen Reiki to all of your past lifetimes. So just envision that they're happening simultaneously in different time zones. So you're sending it through your timelines, and it's just this light. You're just giving yourself light all these different lifetimes. It's a really beautiful practice. You can do it for 5 minutes, you can do it for 30 minutes, but it's going to start to work on that stuff that's really deep in your soul history, in your DNA, in your family line, stuff that it's just like you're working on in this lifetime. Really important stuff, you know, like that stuff that runs in families, that deeper stuff that you can't really get to. It's not something that's current. It's like, it's a big one, you know. When you can get to it and access it in past lifetimes, it can also help you to understand why your life is the way that it is, or why you're with certain people, or why you're in certain professions, or why you have certain talents or certain problems. So that you can actually get some insight into where you left off and where you're going. Okay, so there is a whole lot more information on how to do a past lifetime, you know, step by step, in a more psychic way with your higher self. For those of you who are wanting to get a little bit more advanced, that I encourage you to read on page 49. But really, it's like you're looking for where the blockage is in their body, and then when you're tuning into that blockage, like we were doing the blockage before, if you are feeling that this is coming in from a past lifetime, then you can draw Honsha Seishonen over the area, and rather than just lifting it out, you're going to allow yourself to relax and visualize, you know, flipping the pages on a calendar, or moving an hourglass upside down and going back in time, just with your imagination, just visualizing a time until you feel drawn to a time for this person. You might actually see a headline on a newspaper with a date. You might actually see a year, or you might see people dressed a certain way from a certain part of the world or a different time. And you can just start to notice, okay, what is it that they brought with them into this lifetime that's still with them, you know? So like, is it trust issues? Is it a special ability or a talent? Is it a relationship that they're still in? What happened in that lifetime? What was unresolved? Or what gift did they bring forward from that lifetime that they need to know about? That's in this vibration here. And you can just talk about it with them. And while you're sending this to it, you're going to actually be sending healing to that past lifetime and to this one, and talking to them about what it is that they brought with them. So it's just a deeper layer that also works for childhood. You know, you can sometimes just look back and be like, okay, I'm seeing you when you were a certain age, and I'm seeing where this may have started with you when you were 5 years old. This happened with your father, and now it's affecting your relationship in this way. And you can send Reiki or Honsha Seishonen back in time to their childhood and allow this to move all the way into their current relationship and heal it at the root. Okay? Really great. The most important thing about that is to bring them all the way back at the end. So that it's common for them to still be feeling feelings, you know, after the healing for anywhere from 1 day to a week, but you want to make sure that they have something, some kind of closure from it, you know, and something that they're working on. So maybe go home and journal about this. Maybe write down your dreams. Take a couple of salt baths. Your new behavior is going to be this. Bringing in some affirmations. We have affirmations listed in the book. Okay. All right, right, so another really great thing that you can do is called a healing attunement. Okay, so this is a fun thing that I like to teach people in Reiki class at the at this level, at level 3. So when you do a healing attunement, I'm just trying to see where it is in the book here. Well, what it is you're going to be drawing Choku-rei, Honsha-zei Shonen, Seiki, and Ko Myo, okay? And you're going to have one hand, so let's say they're laying down in front of you like this. You're going to have like one hand over their forehead and one hand over their ear, and you're going to create this ball of Reiki light. And you're going to visualize this ball really, really starting to gather up more and more light and get bigger, and it's rolling. Okay, once it starts rolling, you're going to envision it go all the way down to their root chakra, or all the way down to their feet, and then back up again. And it's really as simple as that. Like, this is the Reiki attunement is a clearing that works that way, where you're sending this concentrated energy all the way down and back up, and it really clears a person out. It's a really fun reset. But for some reason, not everybody wants a Reiki attunement, which was news to me. I mean, I love Reiki attunements. I can't imagine why anyone would want it to be temporary, but some people really do. They really want you to do it. So if someone needs like a big blast of light, that is called a healing attunement. So that's another thing. All right, so now what we're going to talk about is how to teach classes. So on page 53 is what to teach in Reiki classes. So in teaching a Reiki level 1 class, okay, so the page just looks like this. I have these bullet points on each one. So since this is so much information, you know, I don't want you to be overwhelmed and think that you have to remember everything. When it comes to that day, you can come and you can get your book and you can look it up, and the bullet points are right there for every single class. And some of these are going to be, you know, repeats. But you always want to create sacred space, okay? You always want to have candles, incense, essential oils, you know, crystals, you know, whatever it is that it makes it special. You want to create a special environment, okay? You want to have, if you're going to be doing this in person, it should be at least like 3 hours for a level 1 person if it's one-on-one. And with a video, it's a lot shorter because you're only listening to me talking. But when you have a student, it's 2 people talking, so you're going to have twice as much time. And you want to add about an hour for every student that's going to be there, because they're going to need to practice and they're going to need to share, okay? So, and ask questions. It just takes a little bit longer. But you always want to call in, you know, the Reiki light and the highest vibrational Reiki master guides to help clear your space and guide the class. You want to draw Choku-rei in all 4 corners, wall, ceiling, and floor. You want to present yourself to the group. Basically, like telling them a little bit about yourself. Something that, you know, you want them to introduce themselves and say something that they like about themselves, something spiritual about themselves and their journey, and you want to let them know that they're going to share for 1 to 3 minutes or 3 to 5 minutes, depending on how many students you have and how much time you have. Some students, you have to get a timer, you know, if they're talkers, and you actually have to like let them know, okay, that's enough. We're going to go to the next person, so that they're not dominating the entire class. And some people, you actually have to like tell them that we really do want to hear from them, encourage them, draw them out of their shell, really, you know, help them to share, you know. And you want to give a demonstration, and your demonstration is going to be, you know, uplifting in some way. You're not necessarily telling them about your week, but you're telling them what drew you to Reiki. So in my case, What drew me to Reiki is I used to go to this Native American healing circle when I was a little girl, and I was 11 years old, and Little Crow, the minister, called me and my brother up to the healing circle and taught us how to do a laying on of hands. And it was the most magical thing that had ever happened to me. I was blown away that I was able to very simply bring the light all the way up in through my chakras, all the way up to, you know, my higher power, and bring the light back down through my hands and to the person. And it was unbelievable. I could see all the heavenly realms. I could feel the energy coming out of my hands, and I could see what was going on with that person. And I was 11 years old. It's mind-blowing for me. Since then, I became a massage therapist, and because I always wanted to see if that would happen again. It just seemed to sort of naturally happen when I was working with people, and I wanted to learn more about it. At the time, when I had these experiences, and I would look online and try to figure out, you know, how to learn more about it, Reiki was one of the things that was available. And so when I was learning about it, you know, there weren't very many Reiki classes that were available, and they were always on the weekends. And so it took me a really long time before I could find myself a Reiki teacher that was available when I wasn't at work. But I started with Reiki level 1. So okay, so after you explain what drew you to Reiki, you want to hear what drew them to Reiki. Then you want to teach them a little bit about what is a Reiki attunement. They've never had one before, so it's the most important thing to teach about in a Reiki level 1 class is the Reiki attunement, because that's what's new. So each class is going to have something that's brand new to them. So you want to explain to them about the 21-day clearing process and how to support themselves through that process. And in the booklet, there's a lot of information on how to take a salt bath. You want to teach them how to clear their chakras. You want to teach them what the chakras are. You want to teach them how to nutritionally support themselves. Again, that's a Reiki sprinkle. But Dr. Usui did go on a fast, so oftentimes it's easier to process the energy if you are cleansing, and that is a common Reiki theme. You want to teach them about the famous Reiki hand positions for self-healing. And you'll have copies of these in your booklet. You want to teach them about the 7 chakras. You want to teach them about the Reiki principles and the levels or the degrees of Reiki. Reiki symbols will come in level 2, and in order to teach Reiki, that's a level 3 course. And so the whole usui Reiki level system is 3 levels. Then you also want to teach them about the other, you know, Seichim Reiki, Karuna Reiki, Lightarian Reiki, Ananda Ray Reiki, Kundalini Reiki. There's lots of different Reikis that I teach. Aerial Reiki is another one, and that those require separate attunements if that's something that you want to teach. You want to teach about where each one of these came from. So, you know, Dr. Usui is the healer that brought through Usui Reiki, and you want to teach them what is Reiki. Okay, all of that is in their book. So you also want them to experience a hands-on healing. So I like to leave about an hour to do this, where they receive a session for 20 minutes, and then they trade, and then they also give a session for 20 minutes. And I also make sure that they aren't trading with the teacher, that they're trading with somebody else. And so it's a one-on-one class. You want to bring in somebody who wants to be a volunteer and receive some free Reiki that day from your student, like that. The teacher, it's really important for the teacher to remain the teacher and hold space for the student. And if the student is working on the teacher, then no one's holding space anymore, and that student is going to get a little nervous and insecure about working on the teacher, which isn't going to make it very easy for them to practice non-attachment. And non-attachment is a really important thing for them to be able to remain grounded, connected, surrounded with light in their heart center, safely sending Reiki. If they're worried about impressing the teacher, that's a lot harder for them to do, and you won't be able to guide them through because you're going to be on the table. So it's really important. If you can't get anybody, just teach them how to go through the hand positions and have them go and practice at home on like somebody else, somebody that they know. Okay. All right, so that is a Reiki level 1 class. You also want to give them a Reiki booklet, and you also want to give them a Reiki certificate. So you can create certificates as a Word doc on your computer, you know, just using Microsoft Word. You can also buy them over at Staples and sign their name. You can also go online and search, you know, how to create your own Reiki certificates and print them on your computer, but you want to give them a certificate. You also want to teach them that water is cleansing, so they should be drinking extra water when they're going through their 21-day clearing process, and giving water to people after they practice Reiki on them. I love to teach people how to clear their own chakras. You can find chakra clearing meditation right here on Vimeo, or on my YouTube channel, or on my website at theholisticmystic.com, or Mystical Institute, the Mystical Institute. So washing their hands after is a great way to stop the energy flow. So is touching a wall or touching the floor. You want to teach them about that. And that's pretty much a Reiki level 1, okay? It's just getting them used to the energy. Some Reiki classes will combine Reiki level 1 and Reiki level 2. But what I've noticed is, even though it's very simple and the information is very simple in a Reiki class, what is not simple is experiencing the upgrade of their cellular structure, of their DNA, of their chakras opening up and just filling up full of light. They're going to go through this shift of raising their vibration. So giving them double the amount of a shift is a lot for them to process, right? So we're giving it to them so that they can understand, okay, this is a level of Reiki. These are the Reiki hand positions. Your vibration is going to go up. Get used to the way that energy is flowing through your body and how you feel, and how to stay grounded and unattached while you're working on a session. That's base level. You don't really want to skip that part. Even if they're telling you that they can and they're advanced and they don't need it, and they've been doing energy work for however long they've been doing it, because you want them to really be able to teach it the way that it was intended to be taught for other people. You don't want them to miss the steps, so that in case somebody they're teaching needs those steps, they heard it from you that is what happens in a Reiki level 1 class. You don't want to teach them that Reiki level 1 is not needed, because it's very needed. And people are very used to the Reiki hand positions. And if you don't take time to learn how to do it and receive it, you won't know that that's a really beautiful session to receive. It's very comforting, very grounding. A lot of people aren't receiving physical touch at home. They don't have anybody living with them, and there's just no substitute for human contact. So they need to learn that. In Reiki level 2, same thing, you know, introductions, Reiki stories. Okay, so go back and think about what you want to share, what you remember, what stood out to you as a wow moment, what was an epiphany for you that you had at each one of the levels of Reiki. Reiki level 1, my epiphany was, we were in Guatemala, and there are all of these wild dogs that would just run right past us. And I'm a complete animal lover. I love dogs. I have dogs. I wanted to pet them even though they were wild, but they wouldn't come near me. They were wild dogs. Right after I got my Reiki attunement, these animals walked right up to us. I mean, literally walked right up to us and put their face underneath our hands like this and just rubbed up against the side of our legs. And it was proof to me that Reiki had just changed my aura, that these animals could read my aura and they suddenly wanted to be around me more. That was mind-blowing for me to have that kind of, tangible evidence of Reiki. The other thing that was really different for me about it, or that I want to share, this is very important, is Reiki was so important to me because, like I said, I had been looking for somebody to explain to me, how to do energy work since I was a kid. I'd had an introduction to it, but I was hungry for it for a long time, and it took me a long time before I could find a Reiki teacher back then. It was a long time ago, and I happened to find it in Guatemala, strangely enough, from a woman who was from England who had learned it in Japan, which was wild. So she actually learned it very traditionally in Japan, went to Japan to study it, decided that she was going to completely change her career. She was studying law, and just took a walk on the wild side and started traveling the world. Threw away her Armani suit, she said, and got rid of her Rolex, shaved her hair into a mohawk, dyed it burgundy, and started traveling the world. And I met her in Guatemala. Loved her. This woman's spirit was completely awake. I mean, she glowed wherever she went. So I felt very drawn to working with her. She was working at one of the metaphysical schools there in Guatemala, and we were in an energy vortex there at Lake Atilan, or Lake Atilan. If you ever get a chance to go there, it's incredible. But that's where we were. And my ego was so involved because it was so important to me. I had so much attachment that I felt nothing. We were up at the Sacred Rocks overlooking this volcano. There were like 6 volcanoes. One had opened up and become this lake, and it was no longer active. And then there was 2 of them that were active, and the rest weren't. And there were all this mist that would roll in, and we were up there in the most magical place you could possibly be in. And I was so attached to it that I couldn't feel anything, but my husband could, which was just total ego death for me, because the whole thing was my idea, and he was the one who got more out of it than I did at that particular moment. So I was, in my head, and I was really upset, and I'm walking down the mountain, and I remember just going, well, I mean, I guess this isn't for me. And I let go. And the second that I let go, all of this light came in. It was just waiting for my ego to get out of the way and for my head to shut up so that I could have a spiritual experience. And I felt this rush of energy just came in and it took my breath away. And after that, I have had it ever since. So I love that story, because that's one of the things that happens when you're teaching Reiki level 1 is people they're trying to figure it out. And if you're trying to if you're trying to have an energetic experience with your mind, it's not going to work. So I think I had that experience to make me a better teacher, and I share it so that other people will learn from my experience. And when I share that story, people understand, oh, okay, so I'm supposed to just be allowing, receiving, letting go of the mind, and that's what you need to teach them how to do. You need to teach them how to have an attunement, how to receive the energy. You're also teaching them the Reiki history. It's really important to teach them the Reiki history, Reiki hand positions, the chakras, what is an attunement, give them the attunement, give them the certificate in the booklet, and that's it. Okay, Reiki level 2. So what's new with Reiki level 2? Think back to your experience with Reiki level 2. What was different for you? So what is different is you get the Reiki power symbol. Bring energy here. You learn how to call in Reiki into your space. You're going to teach them how to do that. You're going to teach them how to do a distance healing. This is new. Okay, this is something that they didn't learn in Reiki level 1. First, you got to teach them how to say these Japanese words, Hon Shaze Shonen, how to draw it, what it means, and let them practice it. And then you got to actually teach them how to do a hands-on distance healing for the first time, either with the picture method, with the teddy bear method, or a list of names, or there's lots of different methods that are in the booklet. then you're going to teach them about this. And this is honestly probably the most major thing that is different in Reiki level 2 is Seihiki. Seihiki is the emotional healing Reiki symbol, which means they're going to be working on the emotional layer of their own aura with this symbol. This symbol is going to be doing a major overhaul on them for the next 21 days at least. For me, it was so major that I went and got life coaching with inner child. She called herself Emotional Prosperity, was her business name, and she specialized in working with the inner child, and we did inner child healing for a year. And I used this all of the time to help me work through it, but I did need a little bit of help. I couldn't really do it on my own, so it was a big deal. Really glad I did it. Life-changing. I would never go back. I'm so grateful that I had this symbol, and I use this symbol all the time. Now when I use it, it's just super comforting. It's a hug from the universe. Back then it was like this, you know, really like these parts of me had needed to heal for a long time, and now they finally get to come up for some light and some love that they had been needing for a long time. So, with this energy moving through time, I was able to send healing to my inner child. I was also able to go into my past lifetimes. So there was some soul cleansing that went on. And I also had this one for protection, which was really nice. When you're going through emotional healing, it's nice to be able to create sacred space. And I also started a Reiki circle at that time. And started getting some support from the community and making friends and getting me prepared to take Reiki level 3 4 months later. So I had Reiki level 2, and then I became a Reiki master teacher 4 months later. So you want to teach them about a Reiki shower. A Reiki shower, again, is just drawing the Reiki symbols and intending for it to send Reiki over an area for an allotted period of time. A Reiki triangle, which is, again, it's how to manifest. So higher good, you know, this or better, whatever's in the highest good of all concerned, what you're sending it to, and then drawing, you know, who's involved, what it is, what is the problem, what is your desired outcome, drawing the Reiki symbols in the center, and then sending Reiki to that situation. Reiki triangle. And then hands-off healing. Okay, so before we did the hands-on Reiki hand positions in level 1. Level 2, we're going to learn about beaming. We're going to learn about scanning. We're going to learn about, you know, I like to add in chakra balancing. I like to add in using a pendulum to check, you know, yes or no, or to check which ones, which chakras are closed, which ones are open, which ones are imbalanced, and do Reiki on it, and then check it again with the pendulum. But again, that's not mandatory. That's just something I add in. And then you want to think of a Reiki 2 story. So I just told you mine, which was about doing inner child work. There's a lot of really good ones, though. I had a friend who was in an art therapy class and was very blocked and was unable to create, and I was able to send her Reiki while I was doing chores that day. I was using my steering wheel as a proxy, you know, by proxy method with the steering wheel, pretending like the steering wheel was her, and I'm driving around. I'm just kind of, you know, off in the distance, just sending her a little bit of light, shooting her a little bit of light at the stop sign. You know, she started sending me pictures of all of these breakthroughs that she was having with her art as I was able to send her light, which was a beautiful testimony to, wow, I guess this is really working. I had another friend who was this really beautiful soul, very sensitive, empathic healer that I knew in my 20s, and she got involved with some guy who was not good for her and got pregnant, and I reconnected with her shortly after my Reiki level 2 class, and I hadn't talked to her in a long time, and she was going through a hard time, and I did 3 practice sessions on her, long distance, and she, after going through just like a midlife crisis early in her 30s, really just down in the dumps, you know, picked herself up, went and got a gym membership, started singing again, just really started to feel more confident, started going out and going hiking, started having some pretty big emotional releases and epiphanies, and was able to get out of her depression. So that was another really good Reiki story for Reiki level 2. I have a few different people that had experienced that, and I started practicing Reiki professionally at that time, which you're allowed to do. Even though I was still healing myself, there's always somebody, even if you are still healing yourself, that is going to benefit from it. And it helped me to help other people. Okay, so I like to teach Reiki level 2 in 2 different days if I'm doing it in person, because it's a lot for people to receive the attunement and also do energy work on somebody else twice. Once with the distance healing on somebody, and then once with the aura healing. I like to break those up into 2 different days and allow them to have some time to integrate. Otherwise, it's too much. And if you are teaching an in-person class, you don't want to go over 5 hours in a day. It's just a lot of time, and people will start to get tired if you go longer. So that's what I'll say about that. You also want to give out certificates for Reiki level 2 and booklets for Reiki level 2, and teach them about the minister's license and the Reiki insurance. Okay. All right. So teaching Reiki level 3. The main difference with Reiki level 3 is Ko-Myo. Okay, so you want them to understand how each of these different energies is going to be affecting them. So Ko Myo is the empowerment symbol. It's the one that's going to help you to be able to guide others and to be a leader. Leadership energy. Leadership energy is different than peer energy. So, you know, even in circles where you're friends with people, there's usually one that's the leader. But if you're going to be a Reiki professional, you want to hold space as a professional. This is a business, and you want to be able to help people to feel safe with you. If they're on the peer level with you, and they're it's just different. They're not going to feel like sometimes it can interfere with people's process if you're on the peer group with them. One, because they're expecting you to hold space for them, and if you're not holding space for them, all of a sudden they're gonna feel like, oh my gosh, they're gonna feel let down that you're no longer holding space for them as their healer. Okay, and if you're a friend who's always having to hold space for other friends as their healer, eventually you're gonna feel used, like, hey, what about me? So rather than putting yourself through that, if you are going to do Reiki with a friend, that's okay, once in a while, but if you're going to do this professionally, it's better to be able to, you know, hold space as a professional and to be friendly with them, but they know what to expect. You know what to expect. You know that they're here. There's going to be an energy exchange. They're here to receive healing from you, and you're here to give healing. And so you're gonna take a shower. You're gonna dress up. You're gonna wear white, or look presentable. You're gonna create sacred space. You're gonna honor the Reiki. And definitely important to, as professional, not pick up on your clients, not try to ask them out afterwards. That's very inappropriate. You don't want to be hitting on your clients in a Reiki class. It's very inappropriate. You want to make sure that people are there and they're getting the most out of Reiki, and that you're there to represent Reiki well, and that you're not going to be using the Reiki class for your own personal gain, you know, to get things from people. You want to have you're not there to get dates. You're not there to ask them to help you, you know, with whatever it is that you need help with. If you set it up right and you figure out, you know, what kind of an energy exchange you need to be able to put forward this amount of time for them and feel good about it, and it'll be something that you want to do and something that is attainable for them, then you'll have a good energy exchange. Okay, so if you start to feel like, oh, I don't really want to do it, you need to raise your prices. If you raise your prices to a point where it feels like, hey, this is a really good energy exchange, this is worth it to me, you're gonna show up and you're gonna give it your all. Not that you're just doing this for money, because there's better ways to go about making money than selling Reiki classes. But if it is your divine life purpose or your calling, or it's crossed your path and you want to see if it is, you gotta have to be able to make it sustainable. I don't know if you've ever met somebody who was just always over-giving and in a state of depletion. That's not representative of overall well-being and health. Okay, so like I see there's a guy who goes down to the beach and he offers free energy work, and he looks homeless, and you know, he sits there with his dog and he looks like he hasn't had a shower in a long time, and I wouldn't let him work on me. I'm sure he's a sweet guy, but he doesn't have a high vibration, whereas the person who is able to present themselves well, who is taking a shower, who is working on themselves, whose life is in working order, who has a safe, sacred space for me to come to, their vibration is higher, and I'm actually going to receive more quality work from that person. So these are things to consider, and there's a lot of conversations about this when you're teaching Reiki. You know, oh, should I be charging for this? Well, in the beginning, you know, you're gonna want feedback from people. So I gave you many stories about how I gave free healings away, and sometimes I still do. You know, if I feel like I'm being tapped on the shoulder, and you know, if you're in a situation where you're just in the right place at the right time, and all of a sudden it's you know, you're called upon to do Reiki, of course you're gonna give Reiki. But to do it all of the time for free would be a lot to ask of you. It does take a lot of energy just to hold space and to let the energy flow through you. So that's that. Also, just to keep in mind, people will bring up other forms of healers or spiritual, like priests and ministers, things like that, or shamans. They'll bring up Mother Teresa. They'll bring up things like that to say why you should be doing it for free too. Well, if you think about it, priests and ministers are getting donations from the church, and they are very well taken care of. They have cars, they have places to live, they have an establishment that's paid for all by the donations of the congregation. They have clothes on their back, they have food for their families, they're provided for. The same with the shamans. The shamans, they just have a different monetary system. It's set up by trade, but there's somebody who's the shaman, the healer, the town healer. There's somebody who does hunting. There's somebody who makes, you know, pottery. There's somebody who does the cooking. You know, everybody has a job, and they're all given land, so everybody has a place to live. And so we use money. That's our energy exchange here. So there should be some form of an energy exchange, even if it's somebody who just gives you a gift. And I got a lot of crystals and things like that in the beginning, asking for a gift. And the people who are giving the gift are also knowing that this has value, and they're placing value on the healing, which makes them more receptive. And like, you'll get a higher quality of clientele and people who are more ready for it if you're charging money. Okay, so it's important for people to understand that. So for Reiki level 3, what is a Reiki story I have for Reiki level 3? Well, first of all, giving attunements is a beautiful thing. It is such an amazing offering. It feels so good to give a Reiki attunement. The first time I did it, I went, oh my gosh, I want to do this all the time. And a lot of people do. A lot of people will give Reiki attunements without any instruction, and it's very tempting to do that. It's a very beautiful thing to do, but it's irresponsible to do it that way, to give people a booklet, to give them no instruction, and to just give them a Reiki attunement, because they're going to go through a process, and then people are going to be drawn to them, and they're going to have to just figure all that stuff out if you don't guide them through it. So that's why I'm creating these videos, so that I can give Reiki attunements whenever people want them, because people do want them at very random times, where you may or may not have time to put together an entire class for them. It takes time to design a class and to get a bunch of people together and rent the space and give people enough time to set aside to take a long class from you. You also want to keep it reasonably priced. So to keep it reasonably priced, you have to have more than one person in the class. And anyways, this just isn't something that's easy to do all of the time. And I've been teaching it for a long time. But I love giving attunements, and I want to do it responsibly, and I think that it's really important to do it responsibly because I went through such unbelievable changes personally, and I've seen people go through such unbelievable changes. Lives change when you give them Reiki attunements. As fun as it is to just give them the attunement, there is some responsibility. You are their teacher. There are ethics involved in shifting somebody for the rest of their life in this way. And I don't want to do it. It's good for them. It's good for you. But guidance really makes it a whole lot easier and a whole lot smoother, and it's so much more beneficial with guidance, is my point. So, I would notice beautiful things. The one that I love telling, and it's so funny, at the time I didn't know that this was going to be so monumental for me, but there was a woman who used to come to me for about 5 years, and she was a healer, but she studied psychotherapy, and then she never ended up using her psychotherapy because she was such a strong empath that she would get exhausted from her sessions. And when I started teaching this, I got a lot of people in here like that. People who were nurses, people who were psychotherapists, people who were yoga teachers or Pilates instructors or things like that, that were always giving, or moms, or even just like the person that's everybody's best friend, right? Or the peacekeeper in the family, you know, those types of people who were drained. And this gave them an opportunity to refill so that they could be of service and always have something that they could come back to recharge. And she was one of the first people that I experienced this with. She was overweight and she lived with her cats, and she hadn't had a date in 10 years. She just went to work and came home, and she would come to see me, you know. And at the time I was giving massage and a little bit of Reiki, but I offered her a Reiki level 1 class, and she blossomed after that class personally. I watched her go and just get her hair done, go take a singles cruise, start just exercising more, and she started just getting out more, and just, I don't know, she had more life turned on, like it just flipped a switch inside of her. Where before, I think she was depressed. So I sat back and just, I was marveling at what Reiki can do for somebody. I mean, you can give somebody medication, she followed all the rules, you know. I mean, she owned her own home. She had a nice paying job. She went to college, you know what I mean? She did all the things that people tell you are gonna give you happiness and success, and she just wasn't very content. And the Reiki is what gave it to her. You know, the Reiki is what flipped the light on inside of her and brought her that magic and that fulfillment and that light that she needed. And since then, I've given it to so many people, whether they were going to be healers or not, because it is so healing to receive an attunement. I think everybody should have the ability to come home and recharge themselves, you know? So the other thing that has been mind-blowing for me since I became a Reiki teacher is my own journey progressed so much when I started teaching, and it will for you as well. When you start teaching, you dedicate yourself to holding it's like you really commit to your ascension path, like your own healing path. It's going to be in your face all of the time. You're going to be constantly reminded of the things that you are working on. The people that come to you for sessions or for classes are going to be mirror reflections of all of the things that are going on with you. So you're going to be in this constant process of coming up with answers and insight and holding space and bringing in the light and clearing yourself and being there for people. But what you receive from that is huge, because you are always going to be checking yourself, always going to be holding yourself accountable. You're going to be learning from your mistakes. You're going to be learning from your students. You're going to be learning from you. You're going to have all of these incredible, meaningful relationships with people that are coming to you that you've had multiple lifetimes with, that are going to show up in your classes, oftentimes to resolve things with each other or with you. But you actually get to resolve them. You actually get to sit there and hold the light and watch this heal the planet one person at a time. The first time that I taught Reiki, I actually started to cry, because it was so beautiful that all of these people were now going to be a part of this collective that were bringing light to the world. I'm going to cry right now. I'll never forget what that felt like, being able to do that with people and to just watch it happen and be a part of it. It's indescribable. I didn't expect to get emotional watching this, but I am. So I can't recommend it enough. It's been a gift on a lot of my holidays with my husband. We were able to go to some sacred sites, and I've been able to give him Reiki attunements in the heart chakra of the world underneath a I don't know, 700-year-old tree. I forget how old it was. It was a historical monument in England, near Avebury, where they have these stone circles. And we just found the most magical spot underneath this huge tree. It had this root system that went on for miles, and then these branches that just came down over it like this. I have this picture of me, I'm like this big, and the root system just goes down out like this. If you want to find me on Facebook, it's on there under Alicia McNaughton. But oh my gosh. So we were there and I was able to give him this attunement while connecting in with the earth energy, and it was just such a magical thing for two people to share together. And again, that's why I said, like, if you want to do Reiki with your friends, you know, go for it. We weren't that serious back then. He was just wanting to experience the Reiki attunement, and then he went back on to do whatever it was that he does for a living, and the Reiki was just for him. 5 years later, he started teaching classes with me, though, and now we do sound healings together, and it ended up becoming something more serious, and he sat in on almost all of my Reiki classes with me for a couple years. So anyways, I mean, that's what's just coming to me right now, but I have a lot of Reiki stories about it. I've been teaching for a long time. You want to be in a good place when you're teaching. Even making these videos, I make sure that I'm in a good place when I'm teaching, and that I'm able to hold space for you on this video. If you're starting to feel like you're gonna come down with something, you're gonna want to reschedule the class. It's really not fair for people. I keep looking for my water. I don't know what I did with it. Where is it? I swear it was here a second ago. Hang on a second. Let me just go get my water. Thank you. Okay, much better. So it's not fair to your students who are going to be really looking forward to this life-changing experience that they're going to have with you, with themselves, with the Reiki itself. And you know, you owe it to them to be able to deliver and to be able to hold the space and to be able to bring the energy. And if you're not feeling well, you know, as hard as it is to get a bunch of people together at the same time, they don't want you to be sick. So you're going to have to reschedule, and make sure that you're not going to get sick. I mean, I do a lot of things to take care of myself. I take a lot of supplements. You know, I eat organic. You know, I take probiotics. I do yoga classes. I make sure that I give myself energy work. I have healers that I go to. You know, you just self-care. There's a lot of things that you can do for self-care. I get enough sleep. I get enough days off. I'm charging enough money to where I'm not exhausted and I'm not, you know, overspent when I do show up. So I can do quality work. So it's important that you do that for your students. And it's important that you have a way for them to, if they're sick, you want to bring in, you know, a Zoom option where you're recording it on your phone or you're recording it on your computer through Zoom. It's an app that you can get. Pretty much everybody knows what Zoom is at this point. Or have a recording like this where they can do a makeup class, or have them come in and, you know, learn privately from you what they missed. But you don't want them sitting there in class getting everybody sick. It's really important that everybody respects everybody else's healing journey. Now, that being said, sometimes when your chakras are clearing, a person might start coughing and that's not the same thing. If their energy is like clearing and they're having different reactions. Like eyes will water, noses will run, things like that will happen when their energy is clearing, and it's not the same thing as a virus. It's just a release, they'll go to the bathroom, like different things will happen when the energy is clearing from you. So if it's that, you're gonna have to just like intuitively tune in and see, is this an energetic response because something is clearing, or is this person actually coming down with the flu? Different things, but the healing crisis can create flu-like symptoms. So trust your intuition, pray about it, meditate on it, and follow your gut. Also, there's this great saying that there are no Reiki masters, that Reiki is continuously teaching me or mastering me, which I love. Every time I teach it a little bit differently, because I'm teaching from the perspective of, where I'm at that particular time, and what lessons I've just recently experienced, and what is sticking out in my mind about Reiki at that particular time. Now, the people that came and took the classes from me then and heard whatever it was they heard from me then, that's exactly what they needed to hear, because I'm setting the intention for whatever it is that needs to come through me to reach the people in the room, in the highest good of all concern, to let it come through me. So different Reiki stories will come out for different people at different times, and I'm usually surprised that no two classes are alike. So that's very magical, because I've been teaching this again for a long time, so it would get very boring if it was always exactly the same. But there are key points that we do need to keep. Like, you do need to share Reiki stories. You do need to share what is Ko Myo. You do need to share, how it's going to affect you. There's the clearing process. You do need to share, how to teach classes, how to give Reiki attunements, how to lead Reiki circles. These are very basic things that you're going to need to teach in a Reiki level 3 class. Okay. You're going to want to give everybody a booklet. You're going to want to give everybody a certificate. So you want to hold space too. Holding space for one person, you're scanning their whole aura. You're scanning their chakras. You're feeling guided to certain blockages to send light there. You're opening up the light to pour in for the attunement process. You're aware of what's going on. You're letting the energy transmute down into Mother Earth. You're clearing your own chakras. You're surrounding yourself with white light. Holding space is being non-attached to what's going on with that person's process. It's being pulled up out of your ego, allowing yourself to be a channel for healing. In a class, you're doing that for a whole class of however many people are there. So a lot of people, when they're thinking, oh, I want to teach a full class of people, well, that's a lot of people to hold space for. When you're first starting out, you are going to get the right amount of people for what you can hold space for. So if you aren't getting a whole lot of clients, it usually means you're in a healing process yourself. And when you come out of your own healing process, you're going to have way more light to share with more people, and then you'll get a whole bunch of people that come, or however many you're supposed to get. So, that's the trick. It's not so much about marketing or selling yourself. I mean, that stuff is important. You gotta know how to, work in the field of business, and learn good business tactics and ethics. But it's not just about that. When you have a spiritual business, the way that you're going to work, you're working for spirit. You're not working for the client or the customer. You're not giving the customer what they want. You're working to live in a vibration and hold that vibration, and you're teaching that vibration to other people. You're not giving them what they want. You are, if you are calling in the light and you're teaching them how to be in alignment. Now, telling somebody that they're in alignment because that's good for their ego is not the same thing as telling them what they need to hear so that they will be in alignment in a way that is uplifting and inspiring. It's a different thing, and that can be tricky, and not everybody does that. But if you do that, and you're not doing this for popularity, You're doing this to live in integrity and to actually help people to grow. Spirit is going to guide you and take care of you, help you to grow, make sure that your needs are met. And sometimes there's down periods, and sometimes there's up periods. This is cyclical. There's a cyclical nature to this business. Okay, so it's really important to know that, and don't give up when that's happening. When you're in the grips of change, you're going to be going through, these moments where you are hitting rock bottom with whatever is going on with you, whatever is clearing from you, whatever vibrations are shifting in you. Your ego is going to have to let go and have these surrender moments that are hard. And while you're experiencing that, this is what your students and your clients are going to be going through when they come to you. If you weren't going through this at different times, you wouldn't be able to hold space for them or understand that process. As a teacher, you have to understand the spiritual process. When you're in your own spiritual process, you're going to hope that you have some money in the bank to carry you. Okay, and it's not going to necessarily be about, oh, well, I've got to go and market. And it's going to be about, no, I need to focus on what I'm being shown right now and evolve. And when I evolve, I'm going to get more into alignment with what it is that I'm supposed to be doing. And then when I'm in alignment with what I'm supposed to be doing, it's going to magnetically come. And this is something that's very different if people are wanting to teach you a very third dimensional way of doing business. So that's important to know. So I have some sheets in here that you can use to explain, for an in-person class, for a usui Reiki level 1 class, it was 5 hours. I would charge, and the year right now is 2021. I would charge $222. For a usui Reiki 2 class, it would be 2 days, 5 hours each day, 10 hours total. It would be $333. For a usui Reiki Master Level 3 class, it's 5 hours for 5 hours a day for 5 days, and it was $1,111. So there's that. I also teach many different types of Reiki. So I've got it now to where you can get an attunement from me, and you can watch these videos, and it's a lot more affordable. And I don't have to pay a lot of overhead this way. I do have to pay for, airspace and equipment and my time and things like that. So there is going to be a fee, but it should be more affordable for you, and you're still getting the information that you need. Now I'm banking on the fact that you're going to go out and you're going to explore practicing this. But if you're not, this is also a great way for you to just receive it for your own healing. Okay. So that is it for Reiki Level 3. Oh yeah, one more thing. There is a guided meditation in this booklet. This is such a thorough booklet. By the way, I highly recommend you go over it, but there is this guided meditation here on page 52. So when you do teach in person, when the energies are getting a little bit wonky, because people are having a lot of stuff come up during a class, the energy is sifting through all of their stuff. They're going to be having all these awarenesses, all these shifts and changes, all of these things that are going on with them. And sometimes you'll feel like they need to heal. Even though they're there to learn how to be practitioners, they're still having a healing process. Like I said, learning how to be a healer is one of the most healing things that you can do for yourself. So they're having that experience. You want to be able to have everybody, okay, let's regroup, everybody get centered, we're coming back from lunch or whatever. And we're going to go through a journey, and we're going to do this guided meditation. You can have everybody close their eyes and take this out and read it. Now, when you're reading it, you're going to slow it down. You're going to feel the words, and you're going to let them roll through you with Reiki while you're sharing it. And you're going to be exploring what that is doing with the energy in the room. The words are a guideline, but the Reiki guides and the energy itself is going to start to move everybody's mood, helping them to ground, helping them to release, and then all of a sudden, the whole room changes when you do this. Okay, so I do teach this, and I have everybody, read a paragraph, pass, read a paragraph, pass, read a paragraph, and practice slowing their words. So I invite you to do that for yourself. Read this, record it for yourself, play it back, and see how it feels for you, and see if you need to slow it down. It's really tempting to just speed through it, but if you slow it down, it is a lot easier to receive. So that concludes my Reiki teaching for Reiki Level 3. I'm so happy that you guys decided to spread the light and to be a light, and I thank you so much for taking my class. And for those of you who have not done the Reiki attunement yet, there'll be a link below that you can click to set up your one-on-one appointment, and there is an extra fee for that one-on-one appointment to have some view time, some card pulls, some coaching one-on-one, and Reiki attunement for you. We can do this through Zoom, we can do this distance, or we can do this in person if you are local. I am here in Capo Beach, California right now. So I'm excited to work with you. Talk soon. Bye-bye. All right, you guys, so this is going to be how to give a Reiki attunement. All right, so you always want to start by creating a space with sacred sage or Palo Santo, bringing in ceremony, playing soft music, and having a clutter-free feng shui environment. And then you want to start by centering yourself, taking some nice, long, soothing breaths, releasing your grounding cord all the way down out the soles of your feet, and visualizing a line of intention going down into the planet, stretching your roots far and wide, allowing a deep concentration of energy to move into the core of Mother Earth, right in her center. Visualizing a crystalline heart right in the center of Mother Earth. And aligning with that love and vibrating higher as you bring that earth energy up into your body, opening up the red root chakra, the orange sacral chakra, breathing light into your solar plexus, opening up that space, aligning and filling up your heart center with green light, allowing that light to radiate all the way through the palms of your hands, calling in your Reiki, using a mantra of choice, allowing your Reiki to flow up into your throat, third eye, and crown, and then spiraling that light all the way around you, visualizing your higher self energy coming in, connecting you to that higher frequency of Reiki. And we're going to bring that line of intention to go straight up, all the way up through the ceiling, all the way up through the cosmos, all the way up into the central sun of our galaxy. We're going to visualize that bright, sunshiny yellow, bringing this radiant golden dome around the room. And we're going to call in Ko Myo. So this is the teaching energy. Ko Myo, Ko Myo, Ko Myo. So you call it in, you draw it once, say it 3 times. Draw it again, say it 3 times. Ko Myo, Ko Myo, Ko Myo. Draw it again, then draw it for the last time, and then just say it 3 times, Ko Myo, Ko Myo, Ko Myo. And then I like to visualize and feel a concentration of light coming down in through my crown chakra, through the crown chakra of the room. And then I move over to my initiate. And I also visualize this beautiful radiant light coming in through the crown chakra of the initiate. And often I will bring in some essential oils to create even more ceremony and place a few drops on the palms of my hands. And then just wafting that energy up and over. If you have hydrosol or an aromatherapy spritzer, it can be nice to bring some of that over the crown chakra and in the aura of your student. And then you're just going to focus, and you're going to wait until you feel this beautiful translucent Reiki light coming in. So this would be for a Reiki level 1. Reiki level 1, I'm just calling in the teaching energy, and I'm not bringing in any symbols. If I were going to do a Reiki level 2 in usui, then my intention would be to bring in these 3 symbols. So this is Honshaze Shonen, Choku-rei, and Seiki-ki. If you are doing a Reiki attunement for any other lineage, and I teach 7 different lineages, then you would just bring in the symbols that you're going to use for that level, for that lineage. And you can either have them on just a regular piece of paper, or you could get artistic with it and place these around your initiate. And your intention is going to be to take those symbols, and you're going to ask the Reiki guides to place them in all of the appropriate chakras, opening up, clearing the chakras, for them to be a Reiki practitioner or a Reiki master at whichever level and whichever lineage. So, but right now we're just going to show you a Reiki level 1. So Reiki level 1, we're just getting them used to the energy, and we're going to be bringing in the Reiki to go into their third eye, into their heart space, and into the palms of their hands and through the crown. So the more relaxed you are, then the higher concentration of energy in your attunement, because you're going to be relaxed and it's going to be able to flow through you. If you're tense at all, then you have to just relax, and then the energy will start to flow again. So we're bringing it into his crown chakra here. And we're about the weight of a nickel. I'm not pressing down. I'm just guiding it in. And I'm watching as it's just moving all the way down through his spinal column. And some people's crown chakras are really open, and some people's you need a little bit more time, and to help them to feel really comfortable and safe by bringing your heart space open and just being a clear channel of the Reiki light. And we're going to set the intention that all the energy, all the information that comes through, to please be in the highest good and exactly what they're ready for his Reiki level 1 in usui. And then on your next breath, you're going to fill up on what's called the violet breath. And you're going to allow your face to just fill up with this beautiful translucent violet color as you breathe that in. And then you're going to slowly blow it into their crown chakra like this. And down the spine. Bringing your hands to their shoulders, anchoring it. And I really wait. I'm envisioning this very slow infusion of Reiki energy moving all the way down, and it's sifting through density. and they're having a healing reaction. So as it's filtering through, I'm closing my eyes and I'm envisioning this beautiful light just softly dissolving and removing out the soles of the feet, anything that no longer serves their highest good, and anything that they're ready to let go of. And then keeping one hand on your initiate so that they know where you are. You're going to bring one hand and scoop under the head, and then you're going to bring the other hand, pushing this beautiful Reiki energy into the brow, into the third eye chakra. And I like to envision this ball of light bouncing from the third eye to what I call the animal eye, moving it from the pineal gland to the pituitary gland. And this is a psychic attunement. This is really good for healing any headaches and clearing and opening psychic vision. And you can hold anywhere from 1 minute to 5 minutes. When you let go, this is continuously happening, so you can just slowly let go, knowing that the Reiki guides are still working on your student. And then you're going to kneel down and you're going to scoop up their palm in your palm, and you're going to, it doesn't matter which side you start on, you're going to go with what feels right, calm and center yourself, and you're going to ask for these beautiful Reiki guides to bring in the Reiki symbols now. So if you're going to bring in Reiki symbols, this is a good time to do it. If you're still doing a Reiki level 1, then you're just going to bring in Reiki energy to open up their palm chakras. So you wait until you feel something, and it'll feel like a brush against your skin, or it'll feel like air, or you'll actually feel a little bit of weight of energy into your palm, but it'll feel like light going into your palm. And you're going to fill up your face again with the violet breath, so just breathe in. And then you're going to gently blow open the palm chakras, and then the heart, and then bring the hand to the heart space. Same thing on the other side. So you're going to gently scoop up their opposite palm under your palm, and then reach your opposite hand out, calling in any high vibrational healing energy that he might need at this time, or any Reiki symbols that would be appropriate for whichever lineage you are asking for. And in this case, we're doing usui Reiki level 1, so there's no symbols. And again, you wait and you feel this lift of energy, this beautiful transmission frequency. And when it feels like it's ready, we're going to pour it into the palm. We're going to blow open his palm chakra and his heart, and place his hands. And you can ask at this time if you bring your hands into prayer position, please. Now there's this radiant energy coming from his heart into his hands from his own Reiki. It's a really beautiful initiation that's taking place here. And we're going to actually use that energy to clear each one of his chakras by blowing left to right and then down. So you cradle the palms like this and you go, move to the next chakra, and down, and then all the way back up to the one we missed. And then you feel this wonderful alignment, this river of light pouring in from the crown, moving through each one of his chakras, opening the palms and resting them there. And it's always good to sit for a moment, bowing in reverence, taking it all in. And then we're going to get up. And I'm moving clockwise around the body. So that is the natural way that energy moves in harmony. So from here, I'm back to where I started. And I'm going to ask the Reiki guides to bring in this clean sheet of energy. It's almost like you're bringing in a plane of glass, but it's made up of energy, and it's coming in from the ceiling, and you'll feel it. There's a weight to it. So once you have it, you're going to rest it on your fingertips like you're holding a tray of drinks or food. But it's this beautiful buffet of light, and we're going to bring this plane of energy through very slowly, like you're moving through molasses, water, or moving like you're stirring peanut butter. And as it moves down, it's going to gently dissolve any areas that are heavy or dark, and it's going to just bring through this concentrated light all the way through the aura. You're envisioning it going all the way through the layers, and you're staying in some of those stuck places a little bit longer, just hanging out and breathing and bringing it all the way down to the earth. Once you get all the way down to the earth, you're going to hold space. You're going to practice non-attachment. So we're not attached to any of this energy. We're going to call in the highest vibrational Reiki guides to lift off and carry out anything that is no longer in your highest good at this time. So we're going to ask you to go ahead and take a nice long breath in. And on the exhale, go ahead and release anything that you don't need anymore. We're going to lift like a push pop. And I'm turning it all over to the Reiki guides. And this clears the space, it clears you, and it clears them. It's this magnificent, concentrated, tranquil ray of light that goes all the way through the space. Once you feel like that's done, you're going to clasp your hands up above and down below. And then you're going to bow in reverence, honoring what just happened here. And your initiate is still receiving. So sometimes they'll stay here for, just 1 minute. Sometimes they'll stay here for 20 minutes. But even if they were to go and sit down somewhere else, it would still be downloading and taking place. So for the one who just gave the transmission, you're going to ask the Reiki guides to bring in this beautiful white waterfall of Reiki to go ahead and clear you as you intend. I hereby release all energy that is not mine and that which is detrimental. Allow it to just wash you clean all the way down, letting go. And then you're going to bring your hand in front and swipe through to release any energy. Other things that you can bring in to help do the clearing. This is a practitioner bowl. This one's made by Crystal Tones. We do sell Crystal Tones singing bowls. We could help you to procure one if you wanted one. So I'll let you feel that. This one is another way. This one is a Tibetan singing bowl. So that concludes our how to do a Reiki attunement. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to working with you again soon.